Yes. Yeah. I think it's gonna be a pretty fun, silly filler episode, you know. It is the middle of summer, so obviously time for the beaches, you know. Some point Asher might take off his shirt. We don't know. We'll see. But yeah, we're just gonna vibe. 5 subs for Asher to take off his shirt. All right. We're gonna get there. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, no, very much so. Oh, he's checking. He's checking something live.
There we go. And I feel like Jennii. Well, first off, it didn't capture any of the audio that I did to start the episode, so it's really the production. It captured you, but it didn't catch me.
Amazing.
The production opening is very good, so it's a good thing
Look,
we're doing a filler
that's
episode.
what happens when all of our staff is just like not here today. You know, everybody called out sick, and it's like they're just letting the imbeciles handle the stream, and we're just like we don't know what we're doing.
I'm gonna do the TLDR from what I said because you heard everything that Rob said, but what I said was that hello, how's everyone doing? It's a filler episode. Jennii isn't here. I'm disappointed that we're not talking about Oshi no Ko, but I also don't want to talk about Oshi no Ko without Jennii here. Because, unlike us, Jennii hadn't seen it before. And I really need her take on it. Just to see
Which,
how she feels.
A little preview into that. Like we got together and watched
Yes.
the first episode together, right?
Yes.
And that was the first time all of us got to watch something together.
Oh yeah,
which
that was
really
cool.
fun. Right?
That was really cool.
In their nice little theater room. That was really impressive. I'm jealous.
Had little snacks.
Yeah, snacks, all that good stuff.
And got to dim the lights.
Yeah. It was a really cool showing.
It was very cool. I definitely want to do more of it.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever we decide to watch down the line, if we decide to do anything of a similar like mold, don't be surprised if I end up being like, let's watch this anime. Like the anime I pick is a movie,
I mean, I think that would actually be great.
Yeah.
If we do like movie picks, because I have some in mind as well.
I do
we
too.
just like pick a day and just go for it,
And so yeah, that's essentially the gist. I'm gonna begin the episode as normal. I'm gonna ask Rob, what have you been up to? Like, is there anything anime adjacent that you've been doing, or like any anime that's crossed in front of you, old or new, like in the past 2 weeks since we last were on the cast?
So honestly, not a ton, right? But one thing that I was really excited for that we went to go do was the Demon Slayer.
That was awesome.
That was awesome, right?
Talk about
it. They had Fathom, bless their hearts, doing this, even if it was on a weekday. Like
yeah.
But they decided to do a one-night showing of the Demon Slayer on stage, which was a 2-night event that they did in 2022 as part of the Kimetsu no Yaiba festival. Apparently they do one every year, which I didn't know about until recently.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
Yeah, so they actually did the same type of thing, I think 2 years prior or whatever, after the end of like the first season. They did something very similar. So basically what they did is they got all the main VAs, right? So our main protagonists, and they brought them up on stage and they did a live dubbing of the recent arcs. So they did one night was for Mugen Train,
Yep.
and then one night was for the Entertainment District arc.
Hmm.
Um, and it was funny because like when we was watching it, they made a comment of like how they did the Entertainment District arc first because of scheduling conflicts because the Rengoku VA couldn't get there for the first night.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I
that's
thought that
right.
was pretty funny
Yep, yep,
because now you're kind of watching the arcs out of order.
yep.
Um, but it's really cool. Each night was like a 2 hour presentation. And it felt like maybe like an hour and some change of that was dedicated towards like the dubbing, and then they had some like fun stuff in between.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like they captured all the main moments that you would want, which I thought was awesome, right? To see them just like pull that shit out of there, just live like that, like that's insane to me. You
Oh, it's
know?
absolutely insane. They dig into that like place, right? Like you are
Yeah.
seeing voice actors voice act real life.
Yes.
Um and not only that, so it's different when you're in the studio because when
Hmm.
you are voice acting, you can mess up or you can be like you'll record like 6 takes and they'll take the best one.
Yeah.
There's something different about performing it live and making and then a lot of the times you're also not acting necessarily with the person.
Hmm.
So like the person that maybe you're like talking to, you're not actually you're hearing a recording or something
Yeah.
or a read. And
And I
so
know when it comes to, I think in Japan and anime, they do a lot more of like the in person, like we're recording these together.
oh, okay.
But that's not always the case, right? You don't
Yeah.
always get that luxury, but I do know that they do it more than we do here,
Yeah.
right? It's almost it's a real luxury if we get the opportunity to do it over here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Because then
Um,
you could develop like a cadence with the other
yeah.
person. You could even see physicality sometimes,
Hmm.
um, and like because I'll see some instances where like both will be in the recording booth and they'll be in glass that can look at each other, you
Right.
know, and then they could be like they could gesture at each other,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
tight. And so like to see people live do it is magic,
It
especially ones as
is.
talented as them.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Absolutely, and they did all of that you mentioned, right? Like they're in it, they're like performing it themselves, like as if they are actually Tanjiro or whoever, and it's
Hmm.
just amazing. And I love that they kept like bringing up like Nezuko's bit of just like she doesn't really say anything. Like I love that they just acknowledge that constantly,
Yeah.
because like they asked her at one point like what is your favorite part of doing this or whatever, and she's just like, well, I don't really get to do much,
Yeah.
but I get to watch the audience, and that's really cool because I get to see their expressions. And I'm like, that cracked me up.
They also often make her like, so they make the guest the MC,
Yeah,
but then like when they do the second half of interviews, she's normally the other MC.
right.
Um,
So they
and
do
then
give her like some role
exactly,
to
and
participate
while
on.
she didn't really talk during the Entertainment District arc, at least during the Mugen Train arc,
Hmm.
we have the dream flashback, and in the
Yeah.
dream flashback, she talks to Tanjiro about like during that time when they were a happy family.
Hmm.
And so I don't know, it's cool to see that. And like I keep reminding as like a person who is like read the manga, it's like, oh, there's gonna be more instances where she's talking. And
Yeah.
it's very curious as to like I don't know, that's neat. That's something to look forward to.
I think so, right?
Mhm.
Because like spoilers, but like you do get like the whole reveal at the end of the second season, right? Where
Mhm.
it's like she can now be out in the day,
Yeah.
right? And that she is starting to talk,
Yeah.
right? So that's
Wait, was
really
that
funny.
second season or third season?
Third season, third season.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I haven't
this current season.
so I haven't finished the third season yet. But I've read
Ah,
it,
but
so
you
that's
read the
okay.
manga,
I've
so
read
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I was wondering where they were going to end the third season. So they end there.
It right there. It basically ends like right there,
Ah,
right?
okay.
I think there's like a very quick cut of something else like right after that, but
Yeah.
that's basically where it's like scene end, we're done. Confirmed next
In-
season, yay! Wait,
Interesting.
um, yeah. So it's
Huh.
I'm very curious to see where we
I'm
go.
gonna have to consult my ancient Demon Slayer tomes in the back
Holmes.
there, and see exactly where we are, because I'm trying to remember, because it's a blur. It's a
Yeah,
blur.
sure.
It's a blur after this arc, because the author was in a hurry, had medical issues, and like, so that's exciting though. That's where they ended that.
Where would you say like that? Like, is that like a halfway point? Are we like towards like the back third of it? Like, where are we at in the story wise, percentage wise?
I would say so, because of how fast the like.
Assuming they didn't like add more stuff to like the adaptation, right?
I would I would weirdly say that we're weirdly like 2/3 done.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we're weirdly like 2/3 done.
I
It's
could I
it's
could see that.
it's strange. So like, how many of the top 5 are left? We have the
Yeah.
weirdo guy. We have Akaza.
We have Akaza.
Akaza could be his own entire thing.
Ah,
Akaza
I would imagine so.
Akaza is in my opinion, the most interesting villain of the villains remaining. Then we have our main boy, and then we have the six-eyed samurai dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So like, people are gonna love the Akaza stuff. They're gonna love the one with that other guy.
Okay.
They're gonna love that.
Okay.
I know they are. I know people are gonna love both.
He seems very cool. I think I already love him. I've only seen like.
I think the six-eyed samurai guy will be a coin flip. I hope it's good,
Okay.
because so here's the thing: is that like parts and pieces during my read were fast,
Right.
and now that we're animating it, I wonder if they're gonna take the time to make these feel better.
Right.
So like, the coin flippiness of it is mostly from the pacing. So it's like, if they can slow down the pace and make it go, maybe it's actually longer than 1/3 left,
Right.
because like,
Right.
they can take the time to do it.
Right.
And so that's really what I'm curious about.
I hope they do, because like that is something that can
Me
be
too.
done with adaptations, right? Like you can fill in those moments and make it feel better. right?
Exactly.
Speaking of Akaza though, when they did the Mugen Train arc and they brought him out as like a surprise guest,
I was
to
losing
play off
it,
of
dude. I
Rengoku,
was so hyped. I felt it.
that was so fucking sick, dude.
I told my hairstylist about it. I was like, hey, so I watched the like live action of Demon Slayer, and I was like losing my freaking mind. Like, when they brought out the guest actor for Akaza, because they did put him in the opening credits. There was no like, it was kind of implied, because like they had the recording for the more minor villain of Mugen Train. And so I was like, okay, so like, this is who we're rolling with tonight, like,
Right.
and then I think Rengoku was in the middle of a line and the lights were out,
Yeah.
and the voice actor of Akaza steps out and starts saying stuff, and I'm like, and the crowd goes crazy, so I feel that energy, and I start being
Yes.
like, I start astropogging, and I felt the energy, and it only made me even more excited for the Entertainment District arc, because I really wanted so badly for them to pull that.
I would have popped off so hard if they pulled out Sawashiro
Yep.
to do the female villain.
Yep.
Oh my god.
I was like getting hyped for you, dude.
When I thought about it though, it also makes the Akaza moment stand out more because that was the second night,
Yep.
right? So like for people that went, you're more so not really thinking about it because the villains for the previous night were pre-recorded,
Yep.
right? So you go into the second night like, oh, okay, they're gonna do that again, and then
Yeah. Oh man.
But boy, did I cry through that again. Did I? Oh my god. When Rengoku sees his mom, man.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts real bad.
It hurts so many times, no matter how many times I watch it.
That was okay. So what's weird is I remember. Oh, and then they don't have the conversation with his dad.
No.
So the conversation
didn't
with
do
his dad.
that.
I thought that was like it's that one was weird. I think that was like the
Mm.
one thing I had with the movie was like
Yeah.
I wish they had ended the movie on the conversation between Tanjiro and his dad.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
remember
Because
because when I was reading in the manga I cried at that point.
hmm
Um
and that
because
was basically where like the next season picked
that's
up
where
like
it
immediately, right?
begins.
Like that
Yeah.
was like the first episode of the next. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, that would have been a great ender," because I remember like that's when Tanjiro tells him he tells the dad to like take care of himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's really emotional for me."
Yeah.
But you know, it's fine. Nothing good. It
hmm
can't be perfect, but
No,
like,
of course. Of
I
course.
wish they ended the movie there. Um,
hmm
but yeah,
And
it
then
is. What's up?
during that we was graced with the presence of Lisa as well. We had concerts going on
We
in
had
there too. Both
Lisa.
Lisa and MA as well,
Yep.
doing the OPs and the endings and just like I was not prepared for like what they were gonna do that entire time.
Yeah, I
Like,
wasn't really
you know.
sure what I was getting into.
Yeah, like
You
I've
know.
watched a bunch of like anime or video game based stage plays,
Hmm.
right? But like a live dubbing is something that is new to me. So like
Hmm.
when they announced it, I first thought it was just a regular stage play,
Yeah.
right? And then as I kept looking at it, I'm like, I don't really know what this is. A dubbing live, like what are we doing here? Like it still sounds cool. Like I'm gonna watch it and enjoy it, but what
Yeah.
is this? Um,
Exactly.
and by the end of it, like I want more of this.
I want
Like
more
I
of
would
it.
love more of this stuff. Especially over here.
Hmm.
Like I know they do a lot of festivals and a lot of cool shit over in Japan, and that stuff gets live streamed and recorded. But
Yep.
like very rarely do we get them subtitled for our viewing pleasure over here.
Yes.
And unheard of for a theater showing.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
right? So I hope that I'm sure this probably wasn't like a huge like money maker,
No,
right?
I mean we
It's
didn't have that many people in our theater.
in our theater.
Yeah.
It's a one night showing. It's a 4 hour commitment on a Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, here's
Um,
hoping that they don't do both plays in one night again.
right.
Right.
But I hope at least they get positive feedback and reception to where they would want to do more of this.
Yes.
Um, because I would eat all of this shit up.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely like if you get wind of more of this stuff, I want to do more of this. And I think my sister ended
sure.
up liking it a lot too.
Yeah.
Um it was just I don't know, it was a pleasant surprise a lot because I
Mhm.
didn't know what to expect and then like they seemed really into it. I imagine
hmm
they have to be into it because like the voice actor for Inosuke is no like for him to have done that regularly is like kind of crazy to me because that guy also voices like Bakugo.
He does a lot. I feel like in any given season, he is probably in like 3 or 4 shows. Like
Yeah.
he stays working.
Yeah.
God, I forget his name. I
Hmm.
could probably look it up real quick.
Yeah, look it up right
Um,
now. Give our boy Inosuke some love.
Inosuke, uh, Yoshitsugu Matsuoka.
Okay.
Matsuoka. Yeah, it was really fun watching him perform. Like you could tell he
Hmm.
was having a blast doing it. But
Hmm.
he also voices Vash, the Stampede.
Oh, and
Um,
the oh my
it's,
god, that's so
yeah,
different.
right,
He does such a
right.
good job. Like,
Kirito
hmm.
and a bunch of other voices. You'll pretty much recognize him in like anything.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god. Yeah,
I loved all the Howries that they had too. Like the costume design for them was really good.
really cool
Um,
way to take it. Like, especially for
yeah,
like someone who isn't wearing something like that, like Akaza.
yeah,
Like when Akaza was brought out and they had the designs on it, I was like, that's such a good way to like do it.
do it. Yeah,
You know.
Tengen's was really cool too. I think Tengen's was my favorite.
Hmm.
And then I really just loved the fur on Inosuke's.
Oh my
I would
god.
wear this just in a winter time. I would just like snuggle up in that thing.
Yeah, that was it was so good.
It was cool.
Mhm.
Would definitely do it again. It makes me just want to watch more stage plays and stage shows.
Yes.
Um, which I mean I do have, Licorice Recoil
You have the
stage
licorice
play over
recoil.
here. If you guys didn't realize how down bad I am for stage plays, I will import Blu-rays. I will go out of my way to get them because like even when they come out in Japan on like Blu-rays and stuff,
Yeah.
it's hard to even like pirate them. It's hard to find them online as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at this point, I'm just like, if I see one, like starting now, right? If I see one, I'm probably just going to order it.
Yep.
And just keep them in the backlog. Because even if I don't have subtitles for them, I still just love just watching the shows and watching it play out and just taking in like the set design and everything. It's just very
And who
cool.
knows? Out of local demand,
Mhm.
you know, the more it happens, the more people realize, wait, there's an audience overseas
Right?
that wants this. I mean, I just bought 2 concert DVDs of Zombieland Saga, and
Yeah.
haven't watched them yet. But like, boy, howdy, do I eat that shit up! Like when we couldn't go to Anime Expo this year, but like Mark went, and I was
Mhm.
just like, if you find the latest Love Live Layla concert, I would love that, you know. But I don't think AX had like a dedicated Love Live booth like they did last year,
Oh,
which makes
really?
me
Yeah.
really sad.
Yeah, normally they have them. And they had a Love Live event, right? Didn't they have a
I think
concert
they
this
had an
year?
event. They had like 3 people from
Yeah.
3 different groups of Love Live there, doing like at least a panel. I want to say.
Yeah.
Um,
I know there was some sort of musical thing they did.
yeah.
Anime Expo used to do what was called the Anime World Matsuri,
Hmm.
um, which was just like this huge like 3-4 hour show of just like we're bringing in so many different artists to just like perform live for y'all.
I need that.
And like the year that I went had some of the Awkwards members come and they did
Yeah.
a performance and Jam
Awkwards is
Project was
always
there
moving
and
around.
a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah,
Awkwards is
yeah, they're
Awkwards is the
everywhere.
grinding group. They
Very much so.
yeah. I
I'm
always
like,
see them work the most. Have you seen that clip of them like still dancing and singing during an earthquake?
no.
There's
What?
a really good clip of like them performing like a song, and then you'll see the camera just start to be like, just like shake a little bit for no. And I'm like, I know this ain't normal. I know this ain't like. And they're like, they're smiling through it all. I'm just like, wow, consummate fucking
Those girls
professionals.
are after the bag.
Yeah,
That is the only
exactly.
thing on their mind.
Yeah, exactly. I am so impressed by them, which is
Amazing.
funny because that's my like least liked like one of Love Live. That's my like
Yeah.
least liked group, but I think they're very popular because they are like they have the benefit of like going around all the time. So like I'm sure they make even more fans
They do.
by people like getting to actually see them, you know,
Yeah.
and being smitten by them.
Yeah.
Um,
I think like the whatever world tour thing that they did like
Mhm.
back in 2015 or whatever year that was,
Mhm.
definitely did a lot for them,
Yep.
right? Um, which is cool because like I feel like I don't see like the original Love Live crew.
Yeah,
at
me
all
either.
At this point, right? Like at this point they're kind of done, right?
I think
Outside of,
so,
like, maybe
yeah.
special greets or whatever. But Awkwards feels like the one that's probably just gonna stick around for as long as I can.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know?
Because by comparison, I think Nijigasaki is like fresher.
Mhm.
They're like opening pandemic age now, right? So about
Yeah.
5 years old now. So like not too crazy.
That probably didn't help things either.
Yeah, that didn't.
Yeah.
That definitely didn't help things either.
Yeah.
And then but Layla's real new. So like, yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious. And then who knows if they're gonna pull out another group out of their hat? They always be doing that shit.
They always. I'm sure they got plans for another one soon.
They're on the fucking lookout.
Right. Shout outs to the Idolmaster Cross Love Live event happening later this year.
God, I want to go to that so bad, but I won't be in Japan.
Me too. I'm so sad. As like the OG Love Live, that is like my era of being an idol person.
Mhm.
I like the original Love Live, the original Idolmaster. I got into pretty heavily,
Mhm.
to the point where like on my shelf over there, I imported the PS3 Idolmaster 2 game.
Oh damn.
Which is really cool. It's actually a really fun idol sim management sim
Yeah.
/ rhythm game.
Oh
That I wish they would do more of.
yeah.
But that's a Gamescast thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got heavily into them. And then the subsequent series I kind of like fell out of. Love Live came out, I got back in, and then same thing with there until very recently. So like that event just kind of like sparked something inside of me of seeing like a lot of the older Idolmaster groups being there,
Yeah.
and like some of the older songs that would probably be being played. I'm like, oh, this caters to me.
Yeah.
This is for me.
I feel like by comparison, I don't know if I ever told you this. Did you know that I got into like Love Live and like Idol stuff at the beginning of the pandemic?
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Okay, we've
Yeah.
talked about that. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I remember one of my first interactions with you because we met up. I would say the first major interaction with you was at Hallmat that one year. And
Yeah.
we were going through the dealer's room, and I remember we ended up visiting that one place with the classic games that we like. You always loved to go to, and they had all the Idol stuff. And then you were like, "May I interest you in some Idol Master?" And I was like, I only know Cinderella girls, but you know, I was like, this guy knows.
He's an idol, bro.
Yeah, he's an Idol guy. He just asked me if I wanted an Idol Master.
We should get together and watch the OG Idol.
The OG Idol Master? We should.
It's a fun time. It's a very low stakes show. You know, nothing serious, but it's a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was basically my anime highlight.
Yeah.
Getting this stage play and then watching the Demon Slayer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of it on my end. What have you been up to though?
So I started because of I was at a party and I was hanging out with like Sky and Jeremy.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Some manga is about to be talked about.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we know they love manga.
Yeah, they do.
But
Manga fiends.
They turned me on to a show, and
Okay.
I haven't watched much of it yet. And I
Can I
don't
guess what
quite.
show it is?
Yeah,
Doro Hidro.
yeah, Doro.
Doro.
Yeah.
Okay. They will not shut up about that show.
What a weird show.
Really?
Yeah, you haven't watched it?
I have not. It's been on my list because of those two.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten to it.
I don't know if I like it.
Oh.
But wait a second. No, I think it's cool. I think
Asher hates.
I don't hate
this
it.
Show.
I don't hate it.
Okay.
It is a strange show. It's weird. It's weird. But I can't judge it because I've only watched like 3 episodes.
Is it like you're trying to figure out what the show is?
It's a lot more psychedelic than I thought.
Okay.
Right? So this is not a positive for it.
Okay.
It's not a positive for it subjectively. Objectively, it might be a good thing. But in terms of like how I feel as Asher, the viewer, it reminds me at times of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is a very popular cult film that I do not like. Which is, the film is like fine in its own like merit, and I can appreciate it from afar. There is like some psychedelic play here that makes me go like, do I like this, or am I like tired of it?
Interesting.
Because it's like, I don't really know what to make of it. It's a very strange show, which is like, I'm not against. That's another thing. I'm struggling with it because I'm not opposed to strange shows. You know,
Right.
It's just, am I into what's going on here?
Yeah.
Will it make more sense as it goes on? Because it kind of doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if I get it. You know, like that's the thing.
That's what I'm saying, right? Where it's like you sort of kind of struggling to see like, what is this show actually? Right?
Yeah, what is
like,
it? What is it about? Like, I know generally
Yeah.
what it's about. I know what the objectives are here.
Right.
But like, why? You know, like like why or like why did this happen? Like what's the reasoning for all of this?
Yeah.
And in a way, there's like but then there's also aspects of it that I know I would love if I just understood it.
Hmm.
Because, like, before, when they were pitching it to me, I was like, is this show a noir? Because what they're describing to me is, like, the character has amnesia. That's a classic noir trope. The character has an animal head for some weird reason, and they're trying to figure it out. And a common theme in, like, classic noir is the thematic between, like, animal and man. When you become more instinctual.
Okay.
That's why Chainsaw Man is actually it has a lot of noir trappings,
Right.
both in your face and subtle.
Hmm.
And one of the in your face ones is that he has the heart of a dog, you
Right.
know. And so like these are very classic noir trappings, and I love that stuff. But I also don't know what's going on, and that bothers me a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, in which is so weird because like there are a lot of shows that I've watched that I love that I don't know what's going on, but this one feels weird to me.
Yeah.
Like it makes me uncomfortable. Um,
That's really funny.
it's really funny.
But also I understand, and like I'm struggling to pick an example, but I know the feeling you're going through.
Yeah.
Like I understand exactly what you're saying,
Hmm.
and it's like what is here is probably really good. Like
Yes.
I see why people would like something, right? But
Hmm.
it's like there's something about it, or like the I don't really know what's going on here, or how we're getting to where we're getting to, or just like feeling lost in all of it in a way.
I could feel some people feeling the same way about Fully Cooley that I feel about this show right
Yes.
now.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's a good one. Yes.
I don't feel that way
Absolutely.
about Fully Cooley. I love Fully Cooley,
Absolutely.
but some people might watch Fully Cooley and feel like strange about it.
Hmm.
I imagine those people I'm feeling that way about
Yeah.
Dorohedoro.
Yeah. I bet that's very similar.
Hmm.
Um, with the character being like he has amnesia
Hmm.
and all this stuff, and you kind of sifting through it. Is it like jumping from scenes? Like, is it like chaotic in that sense of like changing different like time periods? Like we're jumping from like present to like
We're
future
not.
to past, or anything
I don't
like that?
recall.
Or
I don't recall time jumping,
okay.
which is also common in noirs, flashbacks and
Hmm.
stuff like that.
Right.
Um, it's more of a sometimes the show is grounded in reality, and then other
Mm.
times it feels like it's breaking its world's rules. But
Okay.
also,
Okay.
it's a world with magic, so I'm like, it's employing magic in a very weird way. You know,
Hmm.
like there's a psychedelic nature to the magic, and like
Hmm.
that can create even more confusion.
Mm.
So sometimes I can't tell if like this is supposed to happen,
Mm.
you know?
Mm. Mm.
I don't I don't understand the rules
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to ground myself in this world, you know?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Are you gonna
interesting.
finish it?
I want to.
Okay.
I want to. I always I very much so respect both Sky and Jeremy. Love those two goons. I love how like when Sky is excited about something, I
Oh,
feel
he
it in my
gets in it.
bones.
Oh
You
yeah.
know?
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, man, he loves Dorohedoro. I'm gonna do it, you know, like I'm gonna finish it. Um
Yeah.
and I've loved stuff that he's given me in the past. Like he turned me on to Goodbye Arian. That's like my favorite manga of the past 5 years.
He has great
Um,
recommendations. He really does.
yeah. So
Hmm.
it's funny when he doesn't like a thing, because
Oh, it's Hater Scoot is
yeah,
great.
yeah, Hater Scoo is like top tier. But I do love it when he loves something. And
Hmm.
so Dorohedoro I do want to finish. I bought the entire first season of Love, Chunbyo, and Other Delusions.
Oh, you bought it.
I bought it because
You just like, I'm
there's nothing
getting in there.
streaming. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I bought it on like Apple, with subtitles.
Okay.
Um, and then let's see.
But you haven't started it yet.
I haven't started yet, but I want to. I want some of that sugary sweetness.
Good old Kyo Annie.
I want to start Zom 100.
Me
Um,
too.
yeah, I really want to start that. It's really funny seeing the side by sides in animation to Komi, because those
Hmm.
are opposite shows. But because it's the same animator, you can see, you know, like animators have like that auteur theory going on.
Yes.
You can tell, you know, like anybody could tell, a Studio Trigger like joint.
Hmm.
Um, so I definitely want to see Zom 100. Um,
Which is also exciting because everybody speaks very highly of it too.
yeah, they're
So it's
loving it.
like, you're gonna get into like something good here.
Hmm.
You know.
The latest One Piece trailer dropped, the live action one. Big
Yeah.
fan, big fan.
Very
Um,
excited for that.
I showed the trailer last night when you goons were over, and I think it made other people be like, yeah, actually, that's pretty tight. Um,
Hmm.
so I'm really into just whoever edited that trailer and like knew what to look out for to like convey to us, hey, we're going silly. Like, don't think we're holding back on it. Um, and we won't fully talk about Oshi no Ko, but there's that scene in Oshi no Ko where like the manga creator is on set and she's like disappointed
Yeah.
by the adaptation. I feel like because they had like Oda on set and like, you know, asking his opinions, and based on what
You,
I've seen, I feel like it was taken, like the advice was taken, or
my impression is that he was extremely hands-on for it,
yeah,
and that he had the final say on everything, is from my understanding.
that's the impression I'm getting too,
Yeah. Hmm.
and that's sick.
Oh yeah,
That's
for
really
sure.
cool. Um, so I love that. What else? Anime, like more anime adjacent is like I started Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that's an anime ass video game.
yeah, it definitely is, and I love it. I'm only like 2 to 3 hours in, but I'm like already like I'm way more invested in that game than I was number two.
Hmm.
Um, and I have the feeling that I see it through to the end. You know,
Yeah.
um, Raincoat I've been loving. Uh, for all the Danganronpa goons, I think I brought up Raincoat already last week or last
Hmm.
time. Um, but it's only getting like I'm enjoying it more. It's really
Yeah.
funny. I was talking to who was I talking to? Um, someone who has a friend who's been complaining about the game.
Really?
Um,
Okay.
but they also like don't like visual novels, I guess. And so, you know,
Playing the wrong game.
yeah, yeah. So then my friend was like, he was like, yeah, I don't know why you're forcing yourself to play these games. Like, they're not in your wheelhouse, you know? Like,
Right.
so, um, and they're admittedly not the biggest, like, Danganronpa fan, but they also, like, know that Danganronpa is kind of like a niche thing anyway.
Hmm.
Um, and it was funny because I got to talk to him about Danganronpa 3, which is like a lot of people don't like. And I was
I hear people don't like that game.
I hear a lot of people don't like that game, and what's really funny is that I love that game.
Ooh.
And I was explaining to my friend that I was like, "Hey, I'm in this weird camp where sometimes I like things that kind of shit on their fan base." Like I know it's like a bad thing to do, right? Like you don't want to do that all the time because the fans are, you know, who are coming to
Yeah.
consume your stuff. And I would say there's a way to do it that's more
Yeah.
interesting
Hmm.
than outright being like our fans are ass. And like a good example is I say a good example, but people hate this fucking thing. Is Alien Covenant? The entire gist of Alien Covenant is like Ridley Scott saying like, "I made Alien, I made your Bible, so I am God, and I
Oh
get to
my
do
God.
whatever I want with it. So don't think that you have the right to tell me what to do with it." And I'm gonna do whatever, you know. If you don't like this, then fuck you or whatever. That's like kind of the feeling I get from it, and I'm like, I like finished that movie and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There, I can get behind that in
uh huh,
just like a fun way,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like, as you said, there's a way that you do something like that,
hmm,
right? Without just straight up like insulting your fans or anything like that.
yeah.
But like, I don't. I'm kind of here for that. I'm here for that energy. I'm here for that spiteful
There's like a
energy of just
hateful,
like
there's like a hater energy.
yeah, there's a hater energy behind it. Of just like I'm just gonna take back control of my thing.
And there's like an air about it, yeah. So like with Danganronpa 3, are you planning to play those games?
I am.
Okay.
Um, So tread lightly.
Okay, Danganronpa 3.
It is amazing that I have not been spoiled on any of those games at this point.
Yes. The
Uh,
big reveal of I would say the big reveal of Danganronpa 3 does point to it does like a meta thing where it's almost as if there's a statement being made about not necessarily the people who are playing the game, but the people who are obsessed with Danganronpa.
okay.
So I like it even more because it's targeting people who have an unhealthy relationship with the game.
Right.
And I'll leave it at that, but I love it.
Okay.
Oh my god, I loved it. I was like,
I will say that is probably like the most interesting and strongest case for me to get to these games.
yeah.
I want to see that.
Well,
I
so
want to
like,
see that in particular.
so like 3 is the one that does that. The other two don't do that.
Like, but I gotta get to.
And it really works for 3 because it's almost also like, well, we're done with the series too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I would love to spend more time in the world of Danganronpa as a fan of it, but I'm also content with being done with it.
It's okay to just have something be done.
Yeah.
And move on.
And I think that's the thing, is like,
Yeah.
that's the feeling I got from it, where it's like, well, the people who would want us to continue this game, we do not want to. You know, like,
Right.
and it's unhealthy for us. It's probably unhealthy for you, honestly.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, cool. Hell yeah. Make something new. And then they gave me Raincoat and Zenki Zero. So I'm happy. I'm eating. So, and then like I said, I got those Zombieland Saga Blu-rays. So would love to watch that sometime. And then,
Get your light show calls ready.
God, I want to watch them real bad. So let's watch them soon. Let's watch it soon. And then,
Please.
what's it called? More Weiss Schwartz with like Carrie and like Chase got into it. Chase is playing Overlord, which I haven't seen Overlord, but I hear good things about Overlord. Chase kind of gave me like a little pitch. Do you have any interest in watching Overlord?
I have interest in it. I've always heard good things about it.
Yeah.
So it's been like in my like peripheral vision, you know what I mean? It's just like I'm one step away from starting it. You know? I just need someone to kind of like either sit me down to start it.
Yeah.
Or just like really push me to it, you know? And I know they just did a new season for it very recently too.
Yes.
So maybe that's something we can check out at some point.
I was super curious about it because like, you know, I've been hanging out with Chase and I asked him about it. I was like, okay, so like what makes, I've heard good things. I've heard that it's good.
Yeah.
What, you know, it's an isekai. Are there anybody else other than the main character that like got isekai'd? Because I know that's like, you know, every isekai is different. So like, what is this doing that's different? And he's like, no, only the main character is isekai'd. Only one person. And then I'm like, what is the appeal? You know?
Right. What is it about this?
And he's just like, so like, yeah, at its start, it's like fan servicey. It is standard isekai, but then it becomes like a found family situation. And I'm like, I see.
Keywords.
Yeah, these are trigger words.
Yeah.
But like good triggers, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The concept of like found family with these characters that you've been playing with, you know, as a person who plays a lot of video games, the thought of like these characters that you've gotten to know playing the game becoming like a tangible thing to you, and then now being your family is like, oh, that's sweet. Cool. Especially like maybe if you didn't have that in the real world, you know. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm very interested. You know, consider me very interested.
How are you feeling about I know we talked about it before, and you were interested in exploring it more, but how is your Weiss Schwartz going? Are you finding it more enjoyable? Are you kind of in between?
I liked it initially.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like crazy about it.
Right.
With our most recent, so I built a new deck. So this is my first time playing with a non-starter deck.
Right.
Because I was only learning with a trial deck. I built one that like was a recommended list from Carrie, and it was for Miku from Quintessential Quintuplets, and that deck plays completely different from a trial deck, and it's in that regard, because it is not a trial deck, it is so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Like, because it's a higher level of play. So there's like
Hmm.
more pieces at work here and more to understand. And for
Yeah.
me, who is changing games constantly and constantly wants to learn new things, it made my brain like chemicals really like
Yeah.
happy.
So I remember that's what you were looking for, right? It
Yeah.
was just like you wanted to see how these other decks would perform and like,
Mm-hmm.
can you push this further because it is very like basic right now, or things feel very similar to each other, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
And so I'm just, I don't know, I'm also building like a Hololive deck, so I'm very curious how that's going to turn out. I'm no the only problem with this deck is that it's the most expensive. Why Schwartz? It makes Why Schwartz is a this is the term I used. It's a poverty card game. Why Schwartz is a poverty card game, like to actively play. Um, but the deck I'm building sure doesn't make it feel like a poverty card game, because I have it all built except for 4 more cards.
Hmm.
It's a Hololive themed deck. Um,
Well, there's your problem. There's why it's
yeah.
expensive.
So specifically, the 4 cards I need are 4 of the same card, and they're Marine.
Oh,
Um,
lovely.
so as Carrie has called it, he's like, "Oh, you have to pay the horny tax," and I was like, "Ah." But I'm excited to get to it when I finally do, because who knows how that's gonna play. Like, what was really fascinating for me was because Carrie has also made a quintessential quintuplets deck, but for a different quintuplet, and when I was playing him, I was like, they play very similarly to a point. And then
Hmm.
once you get to that point, the mechanics very much so fit the character, and it kind of
Yeah.
blew me away. So like, I don't remember specifically what he was doing on his end, because I was more concerned with like mine, but we had like mechanics that we were doing that were the same. They were like, I was like, okay, this is a quintuplets thing. This is a
Right.
quintuplets mechanic. Um, but then as the game like went further, I started to get the advantage because Miku has this card called Harbored Feelings, and while all the quintuplets like want to get with the guy, that's the nature of a harem anime. They all have technically harbored feelings. Miku's are very like ever present within the like story arc, um, and you holding on to harbored feelings from the start of the game, if you can get them early, and then continue to tier 3, level 3. I think she's probably like the best quintuplet if you've been building
Ooh.
up harbored feelings.
Yeah, yeah. You let those feelings build
Yeah,
up
let those feelings build up and let them out,
and then
girl.
explode. Confess.
Just like the ending of season 2, like it's just like it felt like really good consideration to the mechanics of the characters, and
Mhm.
I loved that. Um,
Yeah.
and so the trial deck I played with was Kaguya-sama, and I didn't feel any particular way about it. I didn't associate like mechanics to the characters. I'm curious as to if a more advanced version of the Kaguya-sama deck would feel more like the characters.
Hmm.
Because that's the stuff that like kind of wows me. Um,
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Um, I'm I guess I'm excited to see what else comes from Y Schwartz and where my Y Schwartz journey, I guess, goes.
I'm curious to see where you go.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of anime.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, lot of decks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I guess that's it. Um, was there any other nonsense you would like to talk about? Any other anime related things?
but before we were recording, we were going down Kyoto Animation list of stuff. And I learned you haven't seen Violet Evergarden, and
Oh
that
yeah,
breaks my
that's
heart.
right.
So I need to make this announcement that I will be forcing Asher to watch Violet Evergarden, and we will cry our eyes out.
So is Violet Evergarden a It's not a show.
It is a show.
It is a show.
It is a show, and then it has a follow-up movie.
How many episodes is the show?
Like 12 ish.
Oh, hello.
Whoa.
Damn it, where's my sound?
Where's your sound?
We can hear you.
I hear your sound. Do you hear your sound? Oh. Special guest.
The appearance of Tiger Lily.
The appearance. Well, she figures that out.
Yeah, continue
but
talking
yeah,
about Violet Evergarden.
it's just 12 episodes. It is essentially it's about a child soldier
Okay.
who trying to protect her. Well, she's in a conflict with her commander. Like they're both trapped in this scenario where they're getting bombarded. And essentially he protects her so that she may live on, and she only knows war. That is what she has grown up to basically be, a child soldier. And he protects her and basically sends her to go live with some acquaintances of his, essentially. And she basically has to learn how to function in society.
So it's a PTSD.
War. It is very much a PTSD, and they don't. She still believes that he is alive. They don't tell her that he is gone.
I see.
So it goes. It is very beautiful. It is one of the most beautiful pieces of work that Kyoto Animation has done.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend you watch it because I would love to talk like deep about Violet Evergarden. I just got finished rewatching it very recently with Drew.
Oh, really?
Towards the end of last year, I think it was.
What are y'all on right now?
We every once in a while we get the gym clips. So we're kind of in the middle right now because like our schedules have not aligned.
Yeah.
The last thing that we wrapped up was Licorice Recoil.
Did Drew like Licorice Recoil?
He loved it.
Okay.
Absolutely loved it. He is smitten by Licorice Recoil.
Yeah.
Waiting on that season 2. We want to get back to Brotherhood.
You guys didn't finish Brotherhood
because we didn't because our schedules just like fell apart.
Yeah.
And then I was really hyped about Licorice Recoil because of the stage play. So I was like, Drew, we need to just lock this in. So we binged that out.
I understand.
So I think that's what we're gonna get back to whenever we can find the time. It's just difficult to, right? But yeah, I think if I don't end up watching Jujutsu Kaisen regularly this season, I might just wait till it finishes and then we'll both binge it. Because he's more of the type of person that will binge at the end. Like he doesn't really keep up week to week very much on anything.
Yeah.
So if I end up hitting the end of the season and I haven't started that yet, I'll just be like, Drew, let's binge Jujutsu.
Yeah. It's painful. It's painful to wait week to week.
So, it can be.
Yeah.
Very much so.
But also there's some excitement to like this was the last episode, you know, like, and you talking to the homies who actually do keep up.
That was one of my favorite things of like when I used to live at the old house and I would watch anime with my old housemates. Whenever we had like a really good show, it was just like we watch it one week and then it's just like 2 hours of discussion.
Yeah.
And we're just like,
you were having your own podcast.
Basically, right? Just let it all out and then we can wait the 7 days for another one. But I also respect the binge life. I'm somewhere in the middle now where it's like I'll let a couple episodes build up and then I'll just binge out three or four and then do it again.
It depends on the show. Certain shows have a better feel for the binge life because some shows are now built that way. They're built with binging in consideration.
Yeah.
And not the week to week model. So it's always curious to see like which are like made for that. If you had to put Violet Evergarden in a camp, would you put it in it was made to be week to week, or was it made to be binged?
It was made to be binged.
Yeah?
It feels like it was made
Is
to
it
be
Netflix
binged.
anime?
It is Netflix.
No wonder.
So I mean, it all came out at once anyway. Yeah.
Jennii, can you hear us? All right.
Hello.
Fantastic.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I-
All right. So I'm using a different mic because I listened to the recording for a summertime rendering, and I felt like my audio was garbage.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's better this time.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Welcome, special guest Jennii.
Sorry. We bought a game, a deck builder, and we've been playing it since 10 this morning.
Oh wow.
What's the
Yep.
game?
Aeon's End. It's a deck builder co-op game.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Hmm.
Interesting.
It was pretty complicated. Like, it was really hard to play, to figure it out. And then once we figured it out, we lost a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then
You're winning
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, we had started this episode with the intent of it being a filler, but what do we want to do? What's our time looking like? Do we want to take the time now
I mean, we can.
to make it the primary episode with just openers from Rob and Asher talking about Violet Evergarden and just a bunch of stuff, and still follow through with our Oshinoko discussion?
We can. I have time.
I'm
Yeah.
good with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So then as a quickie, Jennii, anything else you want to talk about, maybe you've watched or done in the past 2 weeks, that is anime or anime adjacent that you would like to talk about?
We did finish Spy Family, and
Oh, yeah.
then for once, Paul actually started to watch the anime that I want to propose next.
Oh.
Because I was curious what he would think of it compared to Oshinoko.
Mhm.
But we didn't get that far in it, but yeah, he did have a little bit. He had a little bit of a opinion on how the anime is the next one. So
Okay, cool.
He's excited for you guys. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. Okay, fantastic.
How did you like Spy Family?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm waiting for season 2. So I'm not reading ahead or anything like that.
Yeah.
I want to know what happens in season 2 because I feel like we're building up a huge love for these characters, and I'm waiting for it to all go to crap. I'm waiting for them to just all die.
Of course. Yes.
I think I've heard
Waiting
from
for
manga
tragedy.
readers that
Mm-hmm.
the movie or the next season is gonna be a banger. So, if you were lukewarm on the show up until this point, the next stuff is what will hook you, is what I've heard. So,
I'm already hooked. So
yeah, and I'm already hooked too. So
I'm in it.
Yep.
I'm very curious. All right, so let's get to Asher's recommendation this week, or yeah, I guess it's a recommendation because I didn't, this is one that I actually watched before, and that's Oshinoko.
Yeah.
And so let's start with the general question: Did y'all like Oshinoko? And
no. Usually you start with, why did you choose this one?
Oh, I do normally start it, but I wasn't the one that. I know why I
Asher,
chose it.
Why did you choose this?
Oh,
Oh, I got fire alarm. I'm gonna mute for a little
please check that. Please check that.
This is the chaos episode.
This is the chaos. Yeah, there's just all kinds of technical issues. Rob will probably want to hear that. So I'm trying to think of a question I could propose or something to talk about.
Well, I'm curious. Why were you guys talking about Violet Evergarden? Because I've tried watching that one.
You don't like it?
I could not get into it. I couldn't. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's.
Rob has said the
I
same
do
thing.
not care for the protagonist right away,
Mm-hmm.
and because it takes so long to care for her, I couldn't get into the rest of the story.
Okay.
Nobody else draws me in. I've heard only great things about it, but I feel like I need to have the time to get to episode 10 or something, and then I'll start to really like it. But it didn't draw me in.
Okay. We were talking about it because like I said, this was originally going to be until you hopped on, it was a we were approaching it more of a filler. Okay, we'll have something in there and then we'll put it out into the ether. And so we were just kind of talking about we were talking about Studio KyoAni, which is some of our favorite studios, and just some of the works that they've done, like K-On, Sound Euphonium, and stuff like that. And then eventually we looked at the list and there was Violet Evergarden, and I was like, oh, I heard this is good. And Rob was like, yeah, you should watch Violet Evergarden. When are we going to watch Violet Evergarden? You know? And so that's really like why that subject was brought up. Rob, before you left, she asked why we were talking about Violet Evergarden, because she couldn't really get into it.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So, hold up. Let me real quickly change the episode title so that people know what's up. Okay, so why did I pick Oshi no Ko? So essentially, I got a meme sent to me by Paul the other day. That was it was a meme of these two guys talking, and they're watching anime, and one of them says, "I swear it gets good by episode 8," or something like that. And then he was like, us watching My Life as a Villainess. And so I was like, is that the perception I've created? That like I pick bad anime, and that like, because I hadn't watched My Life as a Villainess. I didn't know if it was good, you know? And I was like, I pick anime that, like, in my opinion, could be good, might generate interesting discussion, and I was like, I have respect for my opinion. I'm gonna pick a fucking good one. I'm upset. So like, I was like, well, what do I? So there was a combination of things. So I could pick like I could have reached and picked multiple different like good ones, but this one I felt very strongly about because one, I think it does things that other anime up to its point hadn't done before. Two, it's giga new. When I picked it, it like ended a week ago, and I think it's like sweet to pick something that is that fresh. Like, what was the most recent anime we had picked up to this point? Is it Summertime Rendering?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Oshi no Ko was a week out being done, and I thought that would be like really interesting to get like this time's retrospective on it. And I think it doesn't have a lot of action per se. I think what it chooses to animate is like divine. I hold it to a very high regard, especially like in terms of its decisions as an adaptation. And in fact, there are episodes straight up in it that are about, you know, adaptation and how it feels being like a mangaka and seeing your thing adapted. And what kind of love is brought into adapting something. Did I think Jennii or Paul would like it? I didn't know. I actually, you could ask Rob. I was leaning to, I don't think they might not like it, and that's fine. But I think it's good, you know. And I was happy to hear after we got done with the first episode that you guys did like it. So now what is most curious to me is like if you guys still liked it after, like all the way through to the end, if you guys liked it beyond episode 1. Because one of the things that this anime did that is very different for other anime is that first episode is about movie length. And there's something with anime that's like it's the 3 episode rule, where by the end of the 3rd episode, that's when you should get people hooked. And Oshi no Ko does a thing that, one, kind of like sidesteps that rule by making the first episode 3 episodes long. So it's just like, we're going to hook you with episode 1. And 2 is something actually that is more of I feel, American television thing. And that's the big premiere. The long episode premiere, you know? And the trend is really interesting because we're getting the, what's the other series that's generating a lot of hype? Because it's going to be airing on a big, like, television segment. You know what I'm talking about,
yes.
right, Rob?
Yes. It is another big adaptation that's happening. It has like a prime time spot.
It has a
That's
prime time
very,
spot.
very, very big deal for Japan, and it is another show that has it's like an hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes long episode.
Yes,
Um,
and it'll be in a prime
I'll
time
figure it out in a
slot,
second.
which is a big deal because that is almost like a. This anime is. Imagine putting anime on like HBO Max, and like this is a The Last of Us level show. You know, like that's the kind of like, and I think like, even though they're so close together, Oshinoko feels like a I walked so that this could run, you know, type of situation. Um, and so regardless of like the quality of the show, what it's doing decision wise, I was like, this should be talked about, and I'm very curious as to how like both Rob and Jennii feel about the show, even if they don't like it, like what these like things did. Um,
by the way, that anime was called Frieren, Frieren,
Frieren
Beyond Journeys,
Beyond
Journey's
Journeys,
End.
which hilariously I still haven't watched the trailer for.
I watched the trailer and I'm like, I'm going to fucking die. It's going to destroy my heart.
Yeah,
I will feel alive.
I've heard a lot of
by
good
dying.
things about that trailer, and I think is it an OVA or is it adapted from a manga? Do you happen
It's
to
a
know?
manga.
It's a manga. Okay,
Mhm.
I think people who know.
I'll drop a link in the Discord.
All right, cool. I think people who know are like, this is a big deal. Um,
Mhm.
but that's probably for another episode. Who knows if we?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we end up watching it. You know, when that comes like out. But yeah, I would say those are. It seems like a lot of reasons I gave why I picked Oshinoko. But know that I most recently developed was like, okay, I have to pick a banger now. I can't be throwing out blanks all the time. And so I was like, I'm gonna pick a banger. And it's cool because they also fit within like kind of the stuff that I'm more into, which is like acting, the industry, you know, a little bit more of my background. And then on top of like, you know, you had mentioned in one of our chats, Jennii, that like you want to compare it with Kageki Shoujo. So like this is probably the first episode that we're comparing something that we've watched now to something that we've watched before on the show that like maybe have similar themes. You know, we could propose the question, what did each do better than the other? Or like what did each do worse? Can they be appropriately compared? Because, you know, one focuses more on the theatrical stage. And Oshinoko hasn't even got to that point, although with the end of the season, that's where it's going, right? We've set up our players for the manga adaptation samurai epic thing that they're doing. That's going to be a stage play.
Tokyo Blade.
Yeah, Tokyo Blade.
But we're actually going to be on a trend of doing that with the next one too. So I think
Perfect.
that's perfectly
Oh, hell
fine.
yeah.
It's going to be perfectly safe, and it's at a completely opposite side of Oshinoko. That technique that they employed, I guess, if you will, in storytelling,
Uh-huh.
very different than Kakeki Shoujo.
Yeah, Kageki Shoujo, yeah.
Soju.
So, Kageki Soju. Well, I love to hear that, and that's exciting.
Yeah, so I think it's gonna be perfectly fine to compare.
Mhm. Hell yeah. So yeah, that's long story short, that's what that's the reason I picked it. So what did you guys what did you guys think of it? And the one that I want to know most obviously is like Jennii. Not that your opinion is devalued, Rob.
Oh, of course.
But we were talking about it already watching it.
We've been talking about it, and we've been talking for the past hour as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Special guest Jennii, please take the floor.
Yeah, please take the floor and tell me what you think of Oshinoko now that you're done with it.
Yeah, talk us through it.
Yeah, so it definitely caught me by surprise.
Mhm.
It's every time you said it's an idol anime, but it's not. It's like I never believe you. Like, I think it's just your way of getting me to watch an idol anime.
I'm gonna get you to watch an idol anime. You're gonna watch an idol anime.
It was like when you said, yeah, it's a harem anime, but it's more than that. I'm like, no, that was just a harem anime. Let's see. So yeah, that I'm glad they didn't do the three. Like they could have broken up the first episode into three.
They
Yeah.
could
How
have.
long it was. I'm glad they didn't.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, if we were to move towards that trend, what would that be like? Would we have like
Yeah, it's different.
or 3 episode long seasons, which is like 9 episodes, equivalent.
Yeah, like Arcane.
Um.
That's an Arcane thing. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So does it damage the storytelling?
Mhm.
Or do you just do what you always do and probably watch the next episode because you're like, I gotta know.
Mhm.
I gotta know.
Right.
There were there was really good pacing.
Mhm.
So the cliffhangers didn't happen every episode. So
No.
there were times where it was like I would hit an episode, I'd be like, okay, I can breathe. Let's take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it knew when to let you breathe instead of trying to make you watch every episode and binge on this kind of a show. Unlike Summertime Rendering, where
Oh my God, Summertime Rendering. It's like I gotta know.
There's no good spots to stop.
No, you got mad because you were like, I have to stop because it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yup.
So the pacing of it was intelligent.
Mhm.
We talked about this being one of the newest ones. I think that's maybe something we've seen differently. It was like before animes were released once a week, like an episode,
Mhm.
and you had to really want to watch it next week.
Yeah.
It had to be on your list since last Saturday release. So now they're not so worried about that, it feels like. So that may be something we see change in the storytelling style.
Yeah.
And I liked it, maybe because I'm used to having the option to watch it and not, reschedule my Saturday around when the next release is of an episode. Let's see. There's character development was fantastic, and you love everyone. We talked about this with Summertime Rendering, where each character had their arc.
Yeah.
their story.
Ensemble.
Yep, and the main character let everyone have their time too. I think Rob
Well-
actually said he doesn't say he's the Mary Sue, the one who knows all the answers and does everything himself. He
Mhm.
actually draws in from his team. So everyone is a main character, except Nezuko, the sniper guy who just all he has.
Oh, yeah.
Episode
Yeah.
20 of 25.
Old man eye patch. Yeah. Old man eye patch.
Yeah. So yeah, other than him, but everyone had a main story. They did the same thing in Oshinoko.
I would say Aqua is really good at making other characters shine.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even in like season 1, right? So they could have just made it all about him for the entire season, but they didn't. They spaced it out.
Mhm.
You take a break. It's not even like different levels of lightheartedness either, because it's still just as heavy, actually.
Mhm.
Just because he's a more serious character doesn't mean that the brighter characters don't have also some darkness to them too, which is fun.
Yes.
And okay, the music. I definitely had to listen to the OP every time.
Oh,
Yeah.
we got her.
Idol rocks. Yo, awesome. Is that your first time? Is that your first time listening to Yoasobi?
Yes.
I gotta give you a collection of Yoasobi stuff because I got turned on to Yoasobi like 2 years ago when they were first starting, and believe it or not, Idol is so different from anything they've ever done. It's really weird how like different Idol is, and then they also did the OP for G Gundam, the gay Gundam, and like that's also really different from anything they do. They're not afraid to like just be like, what have we not done before, and just kind of like go crazy.
Glimpse does a similar thing. They haven't done Idol, but
Yeah.
all of their
Yeah.
stuff sounded super different too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's cool. Yoasobi is cool.
I don't know Idol genre at all.
Yeah.
Is it always got that orchestral darkness
No.
to it?
No.
I'm wondering if that's
That's a
why it's
and
not so
Yoasobi I wouldn't consider an idol.
Okay.
Yeah. Yoasobi is not an idol group. So that's why it's like the orchestral
like-
darkness is a Oshinoko thing.
It was like, yeah, because it reminded me of like the Attack on Titan orchestral like
Yeah.
opening, and then also the instrumental of like Blue Man Group,
Yeah.
but
Ooh, cool.
then but then like that happy tones, but it's almost like a 90s song where you're like, this is a happy bop, and then it's about being strung out on meth or something.
I really love they incorporate the idol chanting, the fan chanting, which almost makes it feel like, as a person who like enjoys those chants, it's like, but putting it in that context, it's like, oh, this is like weird, creepy, culty, like.
Well, it had that
Yeah,
heavy like
sure.
steel drum too at the same
Yes.
time. That maybe it's just our sound that just like reverberated it. But I was just like,
Yeah.
it's a little creepy.
Yeah.
It's dark. It's orchestral dark.
It is.
I just didn't know if that was a normal thing, and that's
not
how
normal.
it sounds. And I just missed out this whole time.
No.
No.
Idols are not like that. Don't.
Okay.
Know that I picked one of the reasons I picked this is that it is a almost like, well, because it's like it's a darker look at it. It's a pierce the veil, like style of looking at something that I enjoy the idol stuff, but it is not. There are situations where it is grim like that. It is incredibly dark, and I hope I try to be so self-aware that I'm like, I hope I'm not in that place. Like I truly love idols in a healthy way, because I don't want to be the stalker. I don't want to be the like crazy killer
Person
dudes,
on Twitter.
Exactly. That's like
sending threats.
Exactly. And that's why I said when we watched that first episode at your place, Jennii, and is it Ryan that was with us? Ryan said we got to watch Perfect Blue. I was like, please watch Millennium Actress, because Satoshi Kon intended those two to be two sides of the same coin. Perfect Blue is a incredibly unhealthy relationship with famous people, and it's sad and it's brutal, and I love that stuff, but it's easy to forget that like people love these things for a reason, and that not every I don't want like fans, understandably so, the bad stuff that they do is so bad, but I think that's sad for the fans who actually do love something with like care and appreciation, and I think they shouldn't feel bad about being a fan. It's easy to feel bad being a fan. I think there are situations where you feel like ashamed, and as a person who is like just recently in arguably the past 5 years have been okay with being a fan of something, I want them to not feel that way. And Millennium Actress is a film that is about someone who deeply loves the person that provided him with like all these movies and stuff like that in a very healthy way. He is not like so unhealthily obsessed with this person, but he has to like know her life. Like he's recording a documentary. It's like about a person who's recording a documentary. He wants to know her life. He wants to get a deeper like look into it, but not in a like malicious or creepy way. It's like can other people feel the love that I feel for this person the way I do? And so Oshinoko is interesting because we have a character who I think is in that zone, and we're trying to understand these feelings. I have no clue where Aqua is on that spectrum right now.
He's trying to understand his feelings.
I think he's also trying to understand.
He's trying to figure it out.
I want to believe that Aqua is trying to be a healthy fan. And I do think he is. But it is weird. It's complex. It's strange. And like you said, he doesn't know. Who am I? Am I her son? Am I a fan? And then the line is being blurred between him and Aqua. As time goes on, he is more Aqua than who he was before, right? And that is interesting too. It's way more complicated, way more like fascinating. And what I love about it all, here's the big Asher nerd moment. I I had a very big aha moment when there was a single frame in the anime, and it's after they finished the what's it called, uh the reality show Love Now. They go to a bar called the Fellini Bar. They show that, and I lose my mind. For those who don't know, Federico Fellini is arguably the greatest Italian filmmaker of all time. And he specialized in a style of filmmaking called neorealism, which is mostly grounded in reality, but featured bouts of like imagination or dreamscapes and stuff like that. And for a show that is trying to be like grounded in reality, but its like thing is that like people are reborn, that reborn aspect and that magic is more of like a means to an end to the reality of the situation. That was like a Fellini MO, you know? And for people to take into actual like high art, this is a person who is considered by some the greatest filmmaker of all time, as like an influence on the approach of your story. I was like, oh, I'm eating good. I'm eating real good.
That's a very cool bit of trivia.
And especially
like
the dark side of fame. Like arguably his most famous film is called 8½. And the reason it's called 8½, is because it's the movie he made. It's the 9th movie he made. But the movie is about a director who is struggling to make more movies. And it exists in this weird dreamscape world that he's created, where a director feels lost in between the making of his 8th film and his 9th film. And it's mostly grounded in reality, but it has like flashbacks and like weird flights of fancy where he like talks to these characters that he like knew before, and the women in his life. And that's a lot of Aqua's thing. Is like there's like all these different girls in his life, and they have like a different aspect. And Federico Fellini, as the director, lost in this dreamscape. It's all the women, all the actors and actresses, and famous models and glamorous people that are in his life, and they're interacting with him. It is insane to me, like the weird comparisons that this story has to neorealism in Italy of all places. It's sick. It's sick. And I know that I was like shaking in my little space boots to tell you guys. Just like, oh my god, can you believe this? The cinephile in me was losing his mind. And so I don't know, it's really cool to like, yeah, I don't know what we were talking about originally, because I went off on a tangent. But
we were talking about Aqua a lot.
Yes.
And like the idol relationship.
Yes.
How do you worship them but not? And
Yeah.
how do you fan over them without being creepy and being healthy about it? One of the things that you said is something that we have yet to learn, which is, who was he before his rebirth? So you said, he was less who he was and now is becoming more Aqua, but we actually knew nothing about his previous self.
Aside from he's a doctor, right?
Aside from a doctor, but that's what, he's already 35 at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was his family relationship beforehand? Who did he have relationships with before that? We don't know. He's talking about this I as his mom. Well, what about your original mom?
Yeah.
Well, what was that like? Did you have a sibling before? You had, your, Ruby. Knew nothing about his interests other than the one that he picked up from a patient.
Yep.
We knew nothing about him. So maybe he, it's easy to let go of an identity if you didn't feel like you had one to begin with.
Yeah.
And I hope that's a little bit of commentary about his chosen profession too. Where sometimes that becomes their whole life. and there is nothing outside of the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
We assume he is very logical because he was a doctor before, but then we just kind of assume that, right? We don't actually know that from anything. He doesn't actually say anything overly logical while he's still in his previous life.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
So yeah, and then I'm also thinking you're also on a trend here, Asher, of talking about the mother thing again.
I love the
As we're
Freudian stuff. Yeah.
We're back to mommy issues.
Yeah, exactly. Always. It's the root cause. Let's go back to it. What's funny is that this show is so chock full of like stuff. I wasn't even thinking about that. Like, nowhere in my notes did I have that written down, but you're absolutely
Really?
right. Yeah, believe it or not, I didn't have that written anywhere in my notes, which is so insane because probably that's at the forefront normally. Like, this one seems the most obvious.
It's right there in your face.
But I'm so lost in the sauce that I didn't even think about that. So it's funny that you bring that up. Hell yeah. I don't know. So where I guess, do you feel like, either of you, do you feel like we have an idea of what he is in terms of like fan health, or is it still up in the air? Like, do we not know for sure? Like, especially like as he's figuring it out, right? Like, he doesn't know himself. Do you think? Yeah,
Like,
I don't know.
I feel like it feels up in the air. Like, he's, like we said, he's still sorting it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think he is aware enough to like, I don't see him like crossing the line, right?
Mhm.
Like, he's gonna skirt very close to it,
Yeah.
right? He's aware of like how to be healthy, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I wonder if like the vengeance angle is going to push him over that line,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I think he does have an understanding of how to be healthy
Mm-hmm.
about it. But I don't. We'll see where it goes. You know.
Well, I think the issue is that, like, it seems like the only way he's getting closer to people is when he sees his mom in those
Yeah.
people, right?
Mm.
Like, do you think he would have gotten to know Akane if, like, Akane didn't do the eye thing? And then, like, I feel like...
Not until he found the tidbit of what agency she worked for.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh, we're just gonna go for that angle.
And then
Right.
there's like Kana too, like
Mhm.
in that final episode, his eyes kind of light up when she like is kind of like, I'm gonna, you know, she had a little bit of that eye energy.
Mhm.
There's something strange about that, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's definitely a male. Are you guys familiar with the concept of the male gaze? Like,
I'm aware of it.
it's like a film thing. It's more of like a... I say it's more of a theory, but I tend to like lean to agree with it. Is that like, because a lot of filmmakers throughout history are men, they do a lot of things through the male gaze, and the show has a very big like male gaze feel because like women end up getting like propped up in this thing and they become like more more than they are, uh and it's all to the like affection of the man, I guess. And historically filmmakers have played with that. They like, you know, there's some people who know that like film is done in the male gaze, so like how do we play with that? Alfred Hitchcock was really good at that, with films like Vertigo, where like a girl was, this guy was so obsessed with making this girl his idealized version of a girl that she is driven to like killing herself, you know? And then what is that movie? It's one of my favorite films, and yet I'm blanking on it.
He's blanking.
Why am I blanking on this movie? It was a classic noir film that starred a woman, which was unheard of at the time. And she essentially like, she plays with
Maltese
the...
Falcon?
Huh? No, not Maltese Falcon, although I do love Maltese Falcon. It's and essentially the gist is that she like, so the film will intentionally film with like the male gaze in mind, but then like as the film goes on, you start to peel back the is veneer I want to use as a term. Like you peel back the veil and like you see it in a more realistic view instead of this idealized like male gaze view of a woman, and then you realize like that she was never all that. She was conniving, you know, and it's I don't know.
Great Gatsby.
Still Great Gatsby is a good example of that kind of thing. Great, especially since it has a lot of thematics about eyes, you know, like the billboard with the eyes and stuff. Great Gatsby is a big male gaze one.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And so I get a similar feeling here. Is what I'm trying to say, and it's a classic situation, especially in a world where like how everyone perceives you is so important, right? Characters who might not have like fallen victim to it are hit with it like in unexpected ways. Like Akane is a good one, you know. She kept because she was emotionally like charged. She kept misstep after misstep. Like she knew not like somebody had told her don't apologize because you're admitting you're wrong. It's too late, you know. And then next thing you know, she's like she's doing all these other things, and it just led to one thing after another, and then you get, you know, at the end of the day, it's easy for anyone to be so malicious about like a person online because you're behind a computer screen, and as a fan you feel entitled to say things about things, and it is fine to be opinionated, but there is a healthy way to be opinionated, and unfortunately most of the people that exist on the internet are not that way. They do not realize that these are real people behind them. It's especially easy with like big time Hollywood goons because it's like, well, they're millionaires, so like why should I care? And it's like, I don't know, man, maybe they came from the same background as you. You know, like, do you ever think about that? Like,
Right.
It's easy. It's easy to be very dismissive about it because they have money or they're famous. But they are people. And I think that was like, that's something that I think about a lot, I guess. Because I know I certainly, like, if for some weird reason I became like really rich or like really famous, I would not want to feel the way like Akane felt, right?
I want anybody to feel the way
Oh, yeah.
that she felt.
I was like, that
You
was
know?
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that it made me feel like who would want to still be in that world after
Yeah.
witnessing that.
It was
Absolutely.
crazy
Like,
that she kept going.
That's enough to just be like, I'm done.
Mhm.
Like, you could easily see anybody stepping away from it, and obviously it wouldn't blame them,
Yep.
right? Like, fuck that. I really like how the show portrayed that arc.
Mhm.
You know, I really like how one of the things I love about the show is just it doesn't shy away from any of that stuff, right?
It doesn't. Nope.
And I feel like it does it in a very smart way, a very real way. Hi, Jennii. Hi.
I likened it to the moment of the first like real darkness in Kageki
Soju.
Soju. It's shoujo.
Oh, yo, dang it, Rob.
Listen to me.
Dang it, Ron Paul.
Yeah.
The bulimia.
Mhm.
It's the realness. There's a lot of I guess this genre that talks about, you know, what it leads to darkness wise. I mean, it's not all rainbows and sunshine of
Mhm.
putting on a face. I know one of like my favorite like stories, Water for Elephants, has a character who is a circus performer, injures herself really badly in the middle performance, and stands up, does the full, you know, like ta-da moment,
Yeah.
covering it in that moment, walks off stage still graceful, and then crumbles and like starts crying and is in a lot of pain.
Yep.
But it's like what you have to do. Just yesterday, I actually went to a hula competition, and the performers were all they had to commit to facials because it changes the whole performance if they forgot to smile or in the moment of the song, or even keep a serious face when they're enjoying the song.
Mhm.
Aw, okay.
And you could see how it would ruin the moment, and they would get docked for points if they drop the face a certain way. And this is just this is a competition, not they're doing this for money, or it was just like the pride of doing it well. And it was really, really, it reminds you of like, okay, but this is the part that they have to hide, though, right? The pain.
Yeah.
They also have to feed on it too, so you can't ignore it. Otherwise, you're a crappy actor, like those guys who were playing in that movie. That show Sweet Today or something.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like all the titles sounded like candies, like Love Now, Sweet Today.
Yeah. Yep.
The shoujo titles.
The shoujo titles,
or
yeah.
shoujo titles, depending if you're misleading everybody in their mind. Yeah, like same thing though in Kageki Show.
Joe. Yep.
Yep. But I think, and not I think, I'm of the opinion that Oshinoko did it better because it was more relatable.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you weren't put in those circumstances because of this job. It was a reality show, which is they're not supposed to be acting. Only if you know the ropes do you know that you're supposed to create a character.
Yes.
I think it's also much more relatable because they're not doing it for the sake, because no adult these days, I think, would really be telling kids, you need to lose weight. And, unless you're a ballerina, they still, there's laws against that now. So it's harder to relate to now.
Yeah.
But the idea of doing it now, it's like in that darkness, it's more relatable to maybe want to commit suicide because you're being bullied, or because
Mm-hmm.
everyone's telling you that you're horrible. I thought of Jersey Shore, right?
Yeah.
Everyone became their characters after a while. Like once you do it for 8 seasons,
you are the character.
You're just you're Snooki. You're
Yep.
Pauly D or whatever their names were.
Yeah, Pauly D.
You're not. There's nothing else unless someone gets the pleasure of meeting you in person.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was, and they also talked about how they go through mental health now, like to the point where reality shows, if you're there, and then he also Aqua leveraging the legalities of it now.
Yes,
the protections,
the legalities.
In place, you realize she's 17.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hiring child actors, there's gonna be repercussions. Yes, she can bow out of a contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas back then it really wasn't as pronounced, but we've had, Heath Ledger, kill off himself because of probably the stress of the role.
Yep.
So now this is a lot more relatable content. We're starting to hear the truth, and I think that's where Oshinoko really probably hits the audience better in the same story.
Yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman's birthday was just yesterday, and he passed away due to committing suicide. That episode was actually the most controversial episode. It generated some controversy. And I brought that up when we watched that first episode. But I was like, I'll tell you guys about it when we get to the podcast, because I think that's like much more interesting context. And you hadn't seen the actual Akane episode yet. But I have it written in my notes here because I wanted to try to make sure that I remembered it exactly. It had controversy because of its resemblance to the death of Hana Kimura. She was in a reality show and became a victim of online bullying. The show was actually pretty popular. It was, you might have heard of it. It's called Terrace House. It was a girl on Terrace House, which is a Netflix show. And that season was canceled because she had taken her own life after online bullying. And the mother of Hana, accused Oshinoko of, it was too similar for her. And she didn't want people to watch the show, and it online reception is very mixed about it, because it's like, I don't think this, it's weird because it's not a 1-for-1 instance. There are similarities, but it's not exactly. So you have people who are saying oh, it's in poor taste, and then you have people who are like, it's not, this is a thing that happens, and this isn't exactly how it is. So I don't think they were intending for it to be exactly like that it was Hana's,
Right.
And so
it's not them trying to exploit this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely, and you know, I can't say because I don't know the particulars, but like at least when I'm watching it, um, I see something that seems common within the industry, and
Mhm.
then you know I'm just brought into the reality of the situation. Um, so it's a very good episode, and they tackle like these kinds of issues like slowly, and I think what I admire about it is Aka Akasaka, the writer of the manga. It feels like he's done a lot of research.
Mhm.
These feel very like real. The characters feel very real, at least, or the instances feel very real. Um, so I don't know. It's really curious. Let's see. We talked
I love
about.
the
Oh,
since we're talking about Akane,
mhm.
her
Mhm.
profiling moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was so enthralled by that. That's one of our characters again has a development moment. Not only does she get redeemed as a person, um, after going through really painful stuff,
Yep.
Mhm.
um, but then has a superpower
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
gets recognized, and I think everyone watching was super impressed. Um, no one's a piece of crap.
Hmm.
Even Yuri, who I was actually expecting her to be a piece of crap.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yuki. Yeah, Yuki.
Was it Yuki? I
Yeah,
thought it
it's
was Yuki.
Yuki.
Yeah.
So
Yuki.
Yuki,
Okay.
Yuki's really they do a really good job with Yuki because
Hmm.
you at this point they had painted the world as like a. It feels like everyone has ulterior motives all the time, and
Yeah.
so like with Yuki doing her thing, you can't help but feel the same way Akane feels a little bit. Like, is she bad? You know, like
Right.
is she steering Akane in the wrong way? And like when it was all said and done, no, she did care for Akane, and Akane was just caught up in the world. You know, it
Oh, I love it. She like ran up and smacked her.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been doing that to some of my homies recently. Like they
I was
they
like,
they
that
get in
was
their own heads, and I'd
cathartic.
just be like,
Yeah.
shut up.
Snap out of it.
Your support group has to be those types of people. Get yourself
Yeah.
some Yukis so that they slap
Get
you
some
out of.
Yukis in your life.
Yeah, get some
And then
Yukis in
hug
your life.
her afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they worked hard to like do the stuff after. It's cool that you brought up that the profiling thing, because when I see that moment, because I used to do like theater in high school, and occasionally I've had to act in college, just for like some of the films. The thing I actually do, I haven't gone to the extreme that she has done, which is probably why she is way more talented than me. But I used to, one, write a page. So, like, I would get a character in a script, and I would write a page um, in the voice of that character, just being like, okay, just. It wasn't even like an introduction. It's just like, what are they thinking of at this moment? And I make sure I write an entire page. And then I would set a timer for 15 minutes, and I would do a character introduction that I would record on voice. So, like, I would sit there and just be like, yeah, my name is, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I think I'm amazing because of blah, blah. Like, I try to inhabit the character and, like, just do this thing. Or, like, yeah, do wacky stuff like that. And it's really funny, like, providing that context of me doing it. But I can't help but feel like, I was like, yeah, like, that's the kind of holes you fill in. And it's not easy, which is why it's, like, so funny when, some people are like, yeah, acting is easy. It's crazy that they get paid that much. Well, you know, depending on how far they take it, it's not easy.
Mhm.
Some do believe that. Some actors are like, well, I'm playing pretend, so like, yeah, it's not that hard. But for some people, like, who get really into their character, it's like insane. The tools that they're using and the meticulousness of like their approach. Um, it's very admirable. What's up?
So reminding me one of my favorite stories of when I was really big into acting. So I actually went for a theater minor
Oh,
in
okay. I
college.
didn't know that.
And I had a class that was it was my favorite professor. I ended up doing a independent study with him for
Okay.
6 credits worth because I did it twice with him
Hmm.
because he was just brilliant. It was learn the piece that you're the story by acting it out, become the character. So he taught theater to go with it. So it was like a tandem with my English degree and then also with theater minor.
Yeah.
So We were assigned a partner. We would do scenes with them, and we would have clear like scheduling of when we were supposed to do like a piece, and then it was like we all had the same monologues, or not monologues, but like scenes. Actually, this one was a monologue. Now I'm thinking about it. We had to figure out how to read a monologue with two people.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
it was called, I think, what was it called? I think one of the characters is called Mouth. That's it.
Okay.
Mouth. Um, Postmodern, and
Of course.
Yeah. And I was like looking at the schedule. I'm like, oh, taking 4 other classes at the same time. So I'm just looking at the schedule. I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, I have this class tomorrow, cool. And I'm like, looking through the rotation. I'm like, we're up tomorrow. Like, we have a monologue to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I messaged her, and I'm like, shit. And you had to memorize everything. So you weren't reading off of paper, and
Yeah.
so we had to memorize it and also interpret it and present
Oh man.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah. And this was a piece that was nonsensical because it wasn't flowing like a regular sentence. It was
Yeah.
like, I think the phrasing was like, into the world now. What? World? No. Yes.
Ah,
Other
I know
day.
what you're talking about.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, another girl, another boy. He screams, ah, yes, another world, into the world. This one, that one. No. And I was like, it was nonsensical, right?
Yeah.
And so we made our interpretation. We sat down, went to the library, we were like scrambling. We made our interpretation. We split it up, and then I committed hard. This was the most I've ever done to like commit to like a role, a character, a piece.
Yeah.
We interpreted it as somebody who was delivering a baby for a woman who did not want to have this baby.
Oh boy.
How did we get there? I'd have to look at the piece again.
It's the profiling. Yep.
But we had to make sense of it. That's the only way,
Mhm.
right? So you have to interpret it in a way that makes sense to you. Otherwise, you will not memorize it. Even if it does. It's like, were you ever like a kid learning a song in another language and you don't even know what the words are? So you just start mimicking the sounds.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you kind of start making the words sound like words that you know, and almost like sentences that could make sense, but in the song it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
You're just making it make sense. You're forcing it.
Yeah.
Like looking at a pattern in a furniture or something and seeing that looks like a face, right? It's
Yeah.
a thing we naturally do.
Yeah.
We find a pattern, it makes us comfortable.
Mhm.
That's what we did. We made a story, and then my character was the doctor that I made, and so I started doing things like just to get into the character. And then when I came back home after I did the piece, went home, go to my apartment, and I was like, who the fuck was in my room?
Uh-huh.
Because I had done things in the character,
Yeah.
and they were things I never
You wouldn't do.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I left the toothpaste cap off the toothpaste. I never do that.
Yeah.
The towel was on the floor.
Mhm.
The bed wasn't made. The closet door was still open.
Damn, this is a messy doctor.
Yeah. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
that was this character. It was,
Yeah, it
and
was
that's
the
why
character.
the dialogue was so chaotic, because it's like go go go.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, I never did. Like, I even called like my friends and my roommate. I'm like, should I stop by my place by any chance, like, or anything? And it's like, no.
Mhm.
It just freaked me out. But yeah, that's how much like I got into that character, and like that was where like that was when I was super super big in a theater. Like,
Yeah.
loved it, loved acting. But in that, like, seeing that character profiling moment, I'm like, that studying is really fun.
Mhm.
And I told you guys I did that. I guess featured in that podcast that was
Yes.
like interpreting, or not interpreting. It was reviewing a like a smut novel.
Yeah.
And I dug into the psychology of the writer based on like things that didn't make sense in the
Mhm.
story. And that's kind of like what she was doing. Things that don't typically make sense, you have to make assumptions.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it was really cool to hear the author comment saying Jenny's really good at reading people. Because
Mhm.
it was a lot of it, I think, was that meant it was right.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, like, and that, I just love that moment in acting. It's very satisfying to realize, wow, I did get it, and then watching Aqua also interpret things correctly too.
Yes.
Mhm.
He made his own assumptions too without even realizing he was employing techniques not thinking like that's what professionals do.
Yes.
Right.
So he is a natural, and won't believe anybody when they tell him he is. I mean, why would he? He was a doctor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He has no experience in this, no background in this.
Mhm.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Other than maybe he learned things from admiring someone so much. You know,
Yeah.
learned how to become confident maybe through watching. I learned how to encourage people because that's like what I would do. You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
The closest I get to it anymore is karaoke, believe it or not. Like when I get into karaoke, like a good example is like "Stay With Me," Jennii. Like I get like it's not like I'm inhabiting Miki Matsubara or something crazy like that, but rather that I am like I feel a way about this song, and when I sing the song, regardless of whether or not I'm in key, because I'm not so concerned about that anymore. I just enjoy karaoke because I enjoy singing, and more about like how does this song make me feel, and like bringing out an emotion. Because usually when I'm doing karaoke, I'm not feeling longing, you know, like or like not like when I'm hanging out with you guys, I'm not feeling longing. I'm enjoying your company and I'm having a good time. Next thing you know, I step up to that microphone and I start singing "Stay With Me" and I feel the longing. You know, like that's the closest that I get to it. I am feeling like "Stay with me," you know, don't go through that door, like please, you know, like and it's funny because it's an upbeat song. That's city pop, baby, you know, like it's upbeat but it's sad deep down, and I'm like, yeah, am I feeling sad in the club right now? A little bit. Let's get it out there, and then go back. You know, once I exit the song, I'm like back in it. But like, I would say that's the closest I get to these days. Streaming, kind of, I guess. Streaming is more improv-y. That's its own thing, right? That's another fun thing about Oshinoko. There is a lot of attention to detail to how everything is different. How like
Yes.
acting on reality TV is different from acting in a movie, and like the type of considerations you have. How streaming is different, right? Like what kind of things are you considering um with streaming, you know? Like when they meet Peon. I love Peon. How'd you feel
Peon's
about
great.
Peon, Jennii? The big muscly bird man.
I love
He's
Beyond.
so good.
Um,
You stand
well,
Peon.
I like loved him and then hated him
Uh-huh.
in a weird way because it was like he made me uncomfortable. And I was like, what is wrong with you guys for like he's so popular? He's like,
That's YouTube though.
I'm like,
It does have a weird
this
YouTube
is what's
energy.
wrong with this world.
Yeah, it does have like that weird energy that's like, but this
How
feels
did
so.
you not get arrested for targeting children?
No, that's what the kids are into these
I'm
days.
concerned.
Yeah,
We're not meant to understand it.
yeah.
No, I remember like when I started babysitting in college.
Mhm.
As a 8-year-old was like, oh yeah, this is like the latest funniest thing, and it was like random videos. Like I don't even. They're like cartoonized, quick shots of just like Charlie, here's a rainbow, blah, rainbows, blah, and
Yeah.
then like here's candy. Oh no, the Germans are coming or something.
Like an
Just,
ADD, like.
That's worse than ADD. If that's. I don't know
Mhm.
what that was, but they were like, "This is so entertaining," and I'm like,
Is
"So what
it?
did you gain from this?" You know, but
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
Peon, in the first part, I enjoyed, I enjoyed the moment where he was like, "All right, I'll put you on my show, but you got to work for it."
Yeah,
I was like, "I like that.
yeah.
I do like that." And then he puts him through a training montage.
And originally they weren't
and-
going to do that. Originally,
Well-
right? Because he was asking like, "What if we did a prank or something?" But then
Yeah,
Ruby was
yeah.
like, "Well, I want it to be real."
Yeah,
So-
and I love that everything was that they talked about like, yeah, everything's like staged. You realize that if they like
Yep.
actually did that, what if she was like in bed with a guy?
Yep.
It's like we talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. Poor
Um,
little naive Ruby.
Right. I love that he was also like, I was gonna edit it so it seemed like you guys were going for 16 minutes.
Got him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
I
even
think-
even Memcho, right? She's another YouTube personality.
Mhm.
She had an interesting one too.
Yeah.
Of like she was actually 25, when she was doing that show. And I think that's one thing that I thought about that I really like, I guess, about the new form of B Comanche. It's a trio of girls who I feel like got a second chance to do
Yeah.
something. That's I think like what I'm like. It brings a big smile to my face. I think about like Ruby and how like, in her past life she couldn't really do any of these things. Um, Kana, who like feels, you know, just so bad about like her acting career now and like the stuff that she's done. So much so that she's like, it's really interesting seeing her as this like how arrogant she was as a child, and then like the place that she is like by episode like 12, and how like we saw them perform the karaoke stuff and they got scores of 50, but then like hers ends
Yeah.
and she has a 97, and it's like she doesn't even realize how good she is, like she was so beaten down by that stuff. And I'm gonna be honest, I feel that way all the time. Like I think a lot of
I
people,
understand.
yeah, I think a lot of people do not realize how like that's why you need those homies, you need that good support group to be like, you're the real deal, dude. Like don't.
Yeah, that moment when she's on stage and she's like, "I want somebody to tell me I belong here."
Yeah.
Like that shit.
But then when Aqua puts up the white light stick, dude, I was screaming. I was like, yes, dude. And like the crowd of people were like, what the hell is this guy doing? And Kana is thinking to herself, isn't he embarrassed? And he's like, no, he's not embarrassed, because that's, he knows, like, that's a real fan. And I think that's the hopeful side of me, that like when this is all over and done, he is like that good positive fan. He doesn't become like the bad stuff. Like I think it's like moments like that. um and then yeah, Memcho, who like, due to the timing of unfortunate things, she had to like take on all these other jobs and take care of her mom. She tried it initially, um but then her mom got sick, and then like she has to take care of those brothers who like, she doesn't regret it at all. She got to send them to college, which she didn't even have that luxury, you know. And then she realizes she's lucky because she got the YouTube thing, but then also she created a lie, and now she has to commit to that lie.
Yeah.
And but that's okay. This is like a world that is okay with that, because it is an industry that is built on lies. And so they were like, it's okay, we can still play up that like you're 18. And in fact she is the oldest character. And I think that's cool, especially as someone who is like, I'm on the older side doing this podcast with you guys, and like, doing this stuff. This wasn't, you're never too old to like try to do these things, like even if it's like a side thing. It's it was nice to see. I have a very fond appreciation. Yeah, I have a very fond appreciation of like the Memcho character, and especially like the moment that she like, the show does. I would consider like the hype moments like an equivalent to the Shonen Punch or something like that, is like the moments that these characters embrace a feeling. And I see that moment in like when Memcho is like asked to be an idol. At that point, she does not look at all like she has been looking like. The cat face and the like, the kind of like airheaded girl. She almost like can't believe it. They turn up the exposure in the background to create this almost like dreamlike reality, which is Italian neorealism. They make it like really bright in the back, and it's almost like, wow, this is like, is this real? Can I really like have this opportunity? And then you see the same thing with Aqua, and then when Akane becomes more like when she comes in and the eyes light up, because even the statement right before that, Aqua's like, "There's no way, there's no way," and then she does it, and he's just like, "I can't believe it. There is a way. I can't believe it." And
that was probably like the coolest moment.
It's so cool.
I love that moment.
Yeah.
I love that moment so much.
That hits so well too, because you can only imagine the scramble of emotion that just flies through him.
Yes.
Yeah, he really couldn't believe it, and especially like since his whole life has pretty much been, it is wild to me that like this is a tale of revenge. Like we often forget that, and we get little bits here or there that remind you how obsessed he is about it, right?
Hmm.
Like when we learn about like how long he took to get the password on the phone,
Oh my god.
I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, he's in deep. Like, and it's just like, it's really bad. I don't know. It does it evoke the same feeling of like a good revenge tale, you know? My Rob knows my centerpiece for my end all be all revenge tale. My favorite revenge tale that I love to watch almost every year is I Saw the Devil, and like, did that scene evoke like the same feeling of like how far will this person go? And I felt like it did. I was like, Jesus Christ, like that is an obsession, you know. Um, and there's like a weird sadness to it because it's like if he wasn't like this developed thing before when he was a doctor already and he was so consumed with his studies, and then is his childhood taken away now in his second opportunity? And it seems like there's this like interesting tug of war that's going on that's like get to the bottom of this thing, but then also there are people who care about you right here right now. And like we're getting this weird blurring line between do you want them to be real to you or is it just a job thing? It is a constant back and forth. And part of the tension and fear that I feel is like who's going to fall to the wayside
Hmm.
versus can people break through and make him realize what's in front of him, you know? Um, and it's interesting, like, the directions that it goes because, right, like, Ai's dying wish was like, maybe you'll become an actor. And as of right now, he's viewing it as a means to an end to exact revenge. But you can't help but feel that there is like something inching in there that this is something you actually want to do, isn't it?
Hmm.
You know? But are you going to burn those bridges? Are you going to hurt people? That's the scary part. You know?
Right.
That's the scary part. And that makes the show infinitely more complex than like a lot of other like bare bones things. Is that constant like psychological struggle, I guess. Um, let's see what else. This honestly has some of the most notes I've ever written for anything. And I'm just trying to make sure that like we're hitting some of the ones that I really want to. Or actually, is there other aspects that you guys want to talk about? Like, did you guys have any particular things that you want to get into as we are entering this discussion today? Like, did we want to go more into the Kageki Shoujo thing, or uh, or is that like piece done? Um, what's up, Jennii?
I,
Um, the only thing that I would be left with is if you want to introduce to a world, an anime that talks about the world of acting, the
Mhm.
reality of it, the difficulties of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kageki Shoujo,
Mm-hmm.
um,
hey.
really does want to dive into the cattiness, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that makes it a little bit two dimensional. Like a lot of things will make it two
Yeah.
dimensional. The cattiness of between the girls,
Yeah.
the competitive aspect of like only one person gets that role.
Yeah.
So then why would you root for two people?
Yeah.
Right? You've got two, and then one's the second one who we started with as the main protagonist is like she is happy to become the second.
Yeah.
That's how, what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then all the other characters, I had so many questions about them. Like they were just so fake. They felt unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas that's something Oshinoko does a lot better.
Yeah. I do agree that these characters are incredibly fleshed out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
More relatable too. Like I already mentioned earlier, the struggle of how the world perceives you and how you deal with that. And then so in one small bubble, everyone thinks she thinks that she might have, be too fat. That's just that world bubble. Once she's out of it, it wouldn't be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, anyone could go through that.
Yes.
She literally joined a reality show that you could be signed on for about 10K,
Mm-hmm.
and thereafter maybe you become famous, or it's your claim to fame.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone eats you up. Everybody,
Yes.
not just that little world bubble. That is you now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this one, at the school is where it matters, and that's it. It's like a little tiny world. Talking about the characters, the uncle essentially of the main character from Kaigeki Shoujo.
Yeah.
He was so questionable to me. I'm like, you're borderline really creepy.
Yeah.
Like you have great intentions, you're really sweet, but you're really freaking creepy, and it's bothering me.
Right.
The boyfriend of or I guess notional best friend back home for
yeah.
at the temple or wherever they're from. Yeah, he was also weird, and then the other guy that's texting on his behalf, weird.
Very weird.
He's weird.
Yeah. The girls who are catty are weird. The ones who play the mentors or whatever. Just a lot of like, I just can't get into these characters at all. Whereas, Oshinoko, much more relatable, even to people who aren't actors. Whereas I feel like you have to be in that world a little bit to want to really enjoy it in
Definitely.
some way, or find something to enjoy about it.
Yeah, Kageki is, I mean, at the end of the day, they're not hiding it. Kageki is based on the Tarokaza theater or whatever. It's a very specific theater with a very specific guideline. Let's be honest, Oshinoko, we're more familiar. We're more familiar with the internet. We're recording on the internet right now.
What?
we're more familiar. We're involved in social media. We're involved in we watch movies more commonly. We're not always going to see traditional Japanese plays.
Well, it looks like it might segue into that for season 2, which I'm curious. We'll see. But it did a good. If it's going to do that, it does do a good job of tying it back to what I guess the audience would be familiar with.
Yes.
Which is a good story.
And it's also kind of exciting because if it is something we're not familiar with, this show does a really good job of explaining how that world works.
Yep.
So I'll gain a better understanding of what it is like to do a play in Japan.
Yeah. Do you watch reality television, Rob?
I don't. I don't. Not at all. But I was fascinated by that entire arc though.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care for reality TV, but getting this peek behind, the curtain of what could go on behind it, and knowing that this is stuff that can occur is very fascinating to me.
Right. You're also playing you. You're not playing. Yeah. I mean, you can be playing a fake thing, but it's a fake you at the end of the day, right? With reality television. And I think that's really interesting. When I see all that stuff and just how they kind of behave and how they it was really funny seeing Aqua as Peon.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking to myself, I feel like having the mask on, and even in those casual scenarios, they're promoting a brand, so I wouldn't be surprised that they were doing that. I think about when I went to LA in the last for Anime Expo, and I met up with my friend who works for TSM, which is one of the biggest esports organizations in the world. And she was like, I'm gonna introduce you to some friends, and I was like, cool. It's when I introduce you, am I introducing you as Asher or Pinot Grigio? I was like, what a weird question. But also, it's another world out here. People be on the grind, people be I'm not on the clock, but I'm on the grind, this is for the bag. I'm Pinot Grigio. And I was like, and this is my entire steez. I was like, that sounds exhausting.
I've had those moments too when it comes to just in a competitive nature, right? Where it's I'll go to an event and I've had that exact same instance of, am I introducing you as Rob or are you Zen? And it's it's a weird feeling. It's a weird question, right?
It's a weird question. but you understand why that question exists.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. You know?
Because what is each person's intention, you know?
Mhm.
And I don't know. It's cool seeing the reality television. I couldn't help but like. I also think about one of my favorite films of all time is Top Five. It was a movie made by Chris Rock. It was written and directed by Chris Rock, um, as a like kind of fictionalized version of himself. He was playing a character, but like there's a lot of like very clear.
I know the movie you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of very clear like him in it. But in the movie, he's dating a reality star, very much like a Kim Kardashian type, and they're going to be getting married. And so like when he meets with her, he's like, can I talk to you? And then she's like, kiss me, and he's like, can we just leave and like talk? He's like, can we kiss like elsewhere? And all the cameras are like around. She's like, if we don't on the camera, it doesn't exist. And I was like, that's so weird, like that your relation, like you're getting married to this woman, and you have to like put up this like thing, it's so bizarre to like navigate, but that's how like far some people are willing to go, and I don't know, it's compelling. This creates unlimited possibilities for plot lines. Like, what are the hype things heading into next season? We have another art form we have yet to see, like in Oshi no Ko. Kana and Akane have a history.
Oh God!
And they don't want to lose.
Mm-mm.
And
I love them both.
So they're gonna have that going on, and they're gonna have the backdrop of the play itself, like the drama of the actual play, will be like mirroring what's going on. Like live. I once wrote a short story that was very similar to it. It was based on my own personal experiences working in a youth activity center where I like took care of kids. And I remember one day when I was at the youth activity center, my co-counselor was doing like a funny thing because kids say the darnest things. They like these two like really young kids, I want to say they were like 8 years old, were like, yeah, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. It's like, you're not really boyfriend and girlfriend. Y'all 8. You don't know what you want. And like, they got in like a fight or whatever, like this over dramatic children's fight. And so my co-counselor jokingly was like, all right, we'll put you in couples therapy. And they like, like they did this like entire like little bit. And I thought that was the funniest thing. But I went home and ended up writing a story that was like, okay, so that's going to happen. We're going to have this like fake playful couples therapy with children. But then some of the older counselors are actually going to have like relationship issues, and it's weirdly going to mirror like what the kids are going through. These like idiot 8-year-olds. And like I can't help but like remember that with stuff like this. I love things that like mirror in a different context. And I think that's going to be super fun for the next season, is that we're going to have this play, and it's also like a love triangle, but then we're going to have the reality of the situation and like what emotions are going to show here. And is one going to win in the play, but the other one's going to win in real life? You can never know. But, it's so compelling. Mm-hmm. And it's so fun. I'm trying to think what else. Are there any characters that we could like to continue like touch? Like, is there any character that we want to touch on? We honestly haven't really talked much about Ruby. Like, how do we feel about Ruby? Or do you think there's like really not enough? Honestly,
I lean more towards not enough just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't really know what to say about her.
Yeah.
Aside from, like, she's cute, I guess. Like, that's about it.
We don't know enough about her, and that's why she can surprise us still, which is good.
Correct.
So, like, that moment that she has with Akane, where she, like, says, you're actually a lot more scared than I thought you were.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
More nervous than I thought you were. I was like, ooh, okay. Now here's where she's being a little bit sneaky, actually,
Right.
Oh, yeah, the scene with Kana where she's like, what is it? She says, everyone is so quick to lie.
Yeah.
And then she says, the more cowardly a puppy, the louder it barks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of like the first time I'd seen her say anything really dark, but I mean, why
Yeah.
wouldn't she be a little bit cynical?
Hmm.
So maybe this whole time it's always been a mask and we even didn't see it,
Yeah.
Right.
But to,
That
to
would.
Rob's point though, that's why we don't know maybe enough because she can still surprise us, and that's I think the intent. If
Hmm.
we knew that
Right.
she was already this dark, that moment wouldn't have hit any better.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
And
Trying to
even
think.
that moment is what that was like the last episode,
That's the
very
last
last episode,
episode, pretty
right?
much.
So we'll see a lot of her next season, I'm sure.
Yeah, we got a glimpse.
Right.
They definitely showed some of the actors that will be at play, who no doubt will have ulterior motives. Um, we still don't know much about the classmate.
Do
The
we know? This is. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Mhm.
Do we know if Ruby knew that was Aqua underneath Peon's mask?
we
I don't.
don't
We don't
know.
know.
We're under
But
the assumption
she,
that she doesn't know, but
yes, but she does make that comment like, if my brother put on that suit and made that duck voice or whatever, I
Yeah.
don't know what I would think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like she might know.
And she's fooling me because I feel like she doesn't know.
Well, like, what a statement! What a random statement to
It's a
make.
pretty random statement to make. Yeah.
She's not obsessed with her brother or anything. So
No.
like
yeah.
for just her to randomly say that out of the blue,
Mhm.
but then right when the comment was something about how it's like got to the same like body structure,
Yeah.
she knows Peon's body.
Yeah.
She worked out with him for an hour,
Yeah.
and she
She
also
strikes
knows
me as
her
like the
brother really well.
character that like she's putting the pieces together, but
Mhm.
like it hasn't sunk in that it's him is kind of where I land
Mhm.
on it, right? Like she needs like one more push and it's like, oh yes, it was him, right? But
Yeah.
like she's on track to knowing, but I don't think she quite knows yet. I don't know. It's weird.
It's
She
weird.
could. I don't know. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's still like so much more with her. Um,
Mhm.
and I think I'm very curious as to the direction she goes because we have very clear stuff with Aqua, in terms of like direction. It's a revenge tale. It's like these are the other players involved in Aqua's life. Um, he's the Federico Fellini of it all, and we'll see how everyone else like reacts. I guess in his circle. Um, who else? And what else?
I know you touched a little bit about the classmate. Did you have a thought on that?
Oh yeah. I was just asking, like, what do you like? Yeah, there's so many people we still like.
Don't know
They're in
anything
the
about.
background, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have a hard. I cannot read that classmate very well. The really like popular classmate. I'm like, is this gonna be a person who is like malicious? Is this a person who is actually gonna be kind, but maybe we have a Yuki feeling? I think that's the fun part about the show because the show is like predicated on an industry that is all about lying. Um, is that you can never tell what anybody's intentions are.
Hmm.
It is Among Us land. Like everyone is in a constant state of like, is this their intent to do like a good example is the scene between the play producer and the producer who
Yeah.
is like that he every time he has a meal with someone, it's with the intent that you're gonna owe me something.
Hmm.
And oh, I know that feeling all too well. I know about those meals. I know about like the yeah, so this is where we're at, right? I scratch your back, you scratch mine, type. And then it felt like with the other producer, the stage guy, it had this weird feeling of like who won out. Who got the
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
who got the better slice of the cake. And it's just like, oh god. I know that feeling, and I know the like it's just weird to me because that's the like work context, and it's so strange to me because like I don't want meals to ever be that, but that's what it is in that world. Like
Hmm.
it something has to come out of this situation, and it has to benefit
In
me.
in literature tech or like literature typically, or just I don't know, historically or typically, but
Mhm.
meals are a sacred thing. And
Yes.
so when you use a meal in a negative way, whether that's to poison somebody,
Yeah.
get a deal, threaten someone, it's considered like the highest breach
Yeah.
of being a good human.
Yeah.
Like if you ever compromise a meal as other than to truly offer someone nurturing or to share nurturing with somebody at the most basic human instinct, you are automatically a bad person.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious. I feel like that's an indicator
Interesting.
that he did something helpful,
Mhm.
and he seemed to have offered something good.
Yeah.
He is also the producer of a show where someone almost killed themselves.
Correct. Yep. It's very gray.
And he showed like no involvement in that, no remorse, doesn't check on the girl,
Nope.
In
anything.
fact, he felt relief about that it all played out correctly, right? When he had that talk with Aqua, he was like, "Yeah, a little bit worried when that happened, but it's okay. We can move on."
Because he's used to this.
Yeah. It happens.
It happened.
It
right.
happens.
So no, I don't trust him at all.
Yeah.
And that just says a lot right there. So I'm gonna stick to my guns on that one.
Yeah, without a doubt, we're gonna get more industry players than just like who are the honest people and who are the ones that are like, we got to get ahead some way. We have to politic, you know. That's the thrill of the show. It's why we love Game of Thrones. It's why we love yeah exactly. That's what we're here for. Let me see. I'm going through my notes to see what else.
He's checking the notes.
If there's anything else interesting I would like to talk about, because we've talked about
all true.
What
Ishmael in chat mentioned the adoptive mother. I love her.
What is her name? I always forget her name.
It's like me something.
Yes, so she's great. She like Kana had a pretty dramatic character shift, I would say.
Yes. Very much so.
They changed a lot in the time skip. Which Miyako, yes. I love her because you do see situations like it's not uncommon for characters to change in such a way that like after becoming like a mother, you know, like that. Yeah, she's definitely the definitive of the mom who stepped up, right? And she continues to look out for like Ruby, very much so.
She meant it when she said she sees them as her children, like that. I fully 100% believe it.
Yep.
You know?
And yeah, I don't know. I love her for it. She's not in it too much, but she is like really looking out. Even trying to help them out. You know, she has the peon connection. And she knows what they're trying to do. She's very careful, you know. That's seen by her like hesitancy to even like consider an idol group. You know, it's just like, no, that's not really our like steez.
She should be just as traumatized as the kids with Ai's death.
Yeah.
She lost her husband.
Yeah.
She became the president at a young age of a company that she really had no investment in emotionally, other than she'd just been there for a while. But I mean, you've been in a job, what, 3-4 years? If someone said, now you have to take over.
Yeah.
She was just there for the money. She just wanted
the hot husband.
Marry somebody. Yeah, that was it.
Yep.
And then everything changed because now she realizes I can't let go of these 2 kids. But that's a huge responsibility. And
it's
huge. Her age then, she's probably in her 20s, late 20s at that. Now you own 2 kids. Can you take care of them and run a business? That's a lot. Yeah. Now to say everything that led to that moment was somebody wants that back. Like let's do it again.
Yeah.
Like I'd be in her shoes. She should have been more adamant or strong about, oh my God, no. You know. Yeah. Like, do you want to die too? The same way Aqua is about Ruby, you know.
Yes, Aqua very clearly is like, I don't want that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But she supports it. Maybe because her motherly instincts aren't as strong as like or maybe that's her mother parenting style is
Yeah.
to, because I know if I discourage them, I'm gonna do the opposite. They're gonna do the opposite anyway.
Yeah,
So at least I can give them a safe environment.
exactly.
It's like if they want to drink, like okay, but as long as I'm around.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was like
I
the sitch, right? Yeah. It was
I
the
feel like it's also in honor of Ai as well, because Ai's wishes as well was to see them like become an idol or become an actor as
Mhm.
well, and it's like you want to take care of them, you want to protect them, but also it's like, again, as you were saying, you want to push them in
Yeah.
a safe way, right?
Yep.
That also honors Ai's wishes at the end of the day.
Yeah. And another benefit was that at the end of the day, she was taking care of one child. Aqua's kind of independent because you know
He is an adult.
he was an adult, so I'm sure he was taking care of himself very much so.
What did the director call Child Aqua?
Precocious boy.
Precocious boy.
Or precocious
yes,
baby.
yes.
His precocious baby when he was a baby. Yeah, precocious baby.
Precocious
He
baby.
now just calls him precocious, which is really funny.
It's funny. Shout out to that guy living with his mom.
Yeah, living with his mom, and
Those
he's like,
bits were pretty fun.
"Hey, why would I move out when I have a spacious apartment in the middle of the city?" It's like, I
Oh
get
my
free
god, the way
food.
she kept barging into.
So
I was like,
funny.
What a mom. What a mom.
Yeah.
Oh my god, so messy. Oh.
It's also really funny because it was in the middle of that dramatic conversation, and even Aqua was
Yes.
about to say something like, "I think," and then she like comes in, you know, "You're gonna eat with us, right? You're gonna eat with us." I was like, "Oh my god, dude, it's so funny."
Mom, please.
And it's, I don't know, it's cool that he like stayed in the industry like that, and the kind of like, I don't know, it's, I like that these characters aren't Mary Sue characters, I guess, because I very much feels like one. Like when we first meet her, she feels like one. Like she is like this like perfect thing.
Oh, Jennii
And-
shaking the head. Hard
Huh?
disagree.
Hard disagree?
Jenny's like,
Nah,
she's not having any of it.
She's fucked up.
Well, no. She is fucked up. She is not a Mary Sue. I'm not calling her a Mary Sue, but I think she, on first meeting, she comes across that way, and I think everyone's initial perception of her is that she is one, that she's like so good at these things and she's perfect, like she's a shining star.
That's the image she is portraying.
That's
right?
the image that she comes across as, is a Mary Sue, and then
When did you feel that? Like, I seriously felt from the beginning like she's got a lot of issues.
Because she fits the traditional idol mold of a Mary Sue. like to me it's like, oh yeah, she succeeds at everything that she's doing until like it is proven otherwise. Like she is the front of like an idol group. She is, everyone who ever talks about her is like, she's really good at this thing. I'm smitten by her. She captures the camera. It's not until that the reveal is that this is not what we need. It's not as simple as like you can be good at all these things, because like everyone has ulterior motives and that doesn't fit this mold. You know, like a good example is like the fact that she's so good at like stealing attention, and then the show only put like a sentence from her in the movie, right? Like especially since we're in the context of like how Aqua and Ruby view her, because they view her as perfect. Like they are also shocked at the reality of the situation as it slowly gets pulled back. What do you mean? Why isn't this person like, why isn't she getting more jobs? What, she doesn't make that much money? This is all like a surprise. I think on initial POV she fits the exactly what we think a star is, and exactly what we think like a perfect person is to start. And part of the appeal is that it is being stripped away, and the realization of like who she was before and how we got to this point, and like how she ended up this way, and who she actually is. She is an idea. It is, have you ever seen the film Rebecca by Alfred Hitchcock? Rebecca doesn't show up in the movie at all. Everything that is talked about Rebecca is that Rebecca is like a perfect being, and in that sense, Rebecca exists in the film, because she is this like perfect person, and the entire plot of Rebecca is that a girl gets married to a guy, his ex-wife was Rebecca, and she can't help but feel like, does he still love Rebecca? Am I even like a real person, or did he love me because it reminded him of Rebecca? And then, she moves into Rebecca's room. The maids don't care about her because she's not Rebecca. It's like, I can't help but get the same feeling of because she has like a lasting impact on the show. But then as you start to like peel away at it, like what other reveals are we gonna get about what did she do when she was in that like workshop? Is it La La La? It depends on how long this story intends to go. Because if the long haul is intended, La 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 isn't where we're going to find all the answers, is it? It can't end at La La La. Do you think it'll end at La La La? That's
Considering the shit is still going now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, there is even more dark stuff that is getting like peeled away. But that's what I mean when like it's less about building something up. It's more about breaking down with When I call her a Mary Sue, she is this like this perfect person, and we get more of her character as we break her down. So yeah, that's what I mean. That was long-winded. Sorry.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
But what else? Yeah, I'm curious as to the lasting impact of the show, because obviously she's the main plot thread. Is that we're getting to the bottom of like and who's the father? That's what keeps us like trudging along. But we have so many other things going on as well. It feels like once we're invested, we're like invested in that plot line, of course. But it's so fun to all of a sudden in episode 6 get drawn into Akane.
Yeah.
What's Akane's role in this like chess game? What kind of person is their father? Like, I think that will be important. I think this is because we don't know what type of person he is, but even without knowing who he is the antagonist of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have not physically seen him. We have no idea what his personality is, but he as a character is shaping the motivations of our protagonists. And I hope they do not drop that ball.
It's going to be really important.
It is really important that this character is good. We have no idea when we're going to see this character. But that character has to be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I can already see it. The blonde-haired, like, like monster.
Dude, I immediately thought it was the president because he was blonde.
Oh, really?
He was like, yep, in no notion, I'm her father.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
Yeah. That's the first immediate assumption.
Everything's comfortable.
Yeah, God. I don't know. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm really glad that Jennii ended up liking it, because I wasn't sure. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, wasn't sure if Jennii would like it. But I'm glad you did. And then with Rob, this was your second favorite anime of the season. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's very close between this and
Skip and Loafer.
And Skip and Loafer, but Skip and Loafer edges out a little bit for me.
Yeah.
But I these two are like my favorite shows in a very long time. Like
Yeah.
they are very high up for me.
What's with the pouty face, Jennii?
No, I just like makes me curious about Skip and Loafer. Because you said this one still is your first like pilot episode.
Yeah, it's still my favorite like episode 1 out of like anything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
still it is by far and away like my favorite first episode.
Yeah,
But
yeah, brilliant.
there's something about Skip and Loafer that just like touches me personally.
Yeah,
I'm just
it's
like
good.
I can't let it go.
It's my number 2, so I completely understand. All right, well, we're gonna forego any game because we had a really long intro. We did like a really long intro, and I also didn't have a game ready. Sorry, Jennii.
You didn't have the game ready?
I didn't know what to do. I'm sorry.
God.
It's 2 episodes in a row.
I'll get one guaranteed for the
Hang
next
on.
one.
Quick
no doubt.
question for you both.
Okay.
If you was an idol, what color would your light be?
White.
Red.
Red? Purple.
All right, you heard it here first. Get your official JSB glow sticks that you can take to our next concert.
Boom! Product placement, baby!
I can't wait. Yeah. So I love that, which makes sense because like my favorite idol in Zombieland Saga, her color is white. I'm trying to think of other ones. It's my favorite one for. I don't think anybody in the Love Live groups I follow have white, but because I think they're very committed to the colors.
Yes.
Maybe what's her name, the actor in Love Live, Nijigasaki. I think hers is white, and she's also my favorite. Yeah, white is right. White is right.
Clip that. Yep. Putting that on the
You heard it here
soundboard.
first.
Oh
You heard it here.
no! Oh no!
Thank you for attending the last episode of the JSB AnimeCast. It has been a pleasure.
We went out with a bang.
Uh-huh.
But speaking of going out with a bang, the next one picking, and you said Oshi no Ko is going to segue into this, so I'm excited to hear what this is, because I have no clue what it could be. I thought I watched every acting anime, which isn't true. I'm joking with y'all. What is it that is our next anime that we're watching, Jennii?
We are gonna watch Charlotte.
Oh my God, Charlotte!
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Really?
It was between that and Fully Cooley.
Wait, I
last
thought we.
time.
Okay. I was gonna say
Fully
we just
Cooley.
watched Fully Cooley.
When we chose Fully Cooley, the other one was gonna be Charlotte. Then we watched this one, and I'm like, oh man,
Mhm.
this is gonna be a fun parallel.
Yeah, I can see it.
Charlotte's about acting.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I know nothing about Charlotte. I just knew it was a trivia question at anime trivia one night, and I was like, I have no clue what that is.
Oh man, are they still
This-
doing those on Thursdays?
I think so, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll be working days next week. Just for next week if y'all want to go next time.
I'm definitely down. Definitely down.
Oh, I don't think I can.
Oh, no.
I can't. I'm in Atlanta next week.
Ooh, I love Atlanta.
I'm gonna go see Fall Out Boy.
Ooh, hell
Oh,
yeah.
that's gonna be fun.
You gotta sing 16 candles.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Okay, I'm excited. Alright, you heard it here
Yeah,
first.
Rob.
It's you have seen Charlotte, right, Rob?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's
So-
gonna be fun to rewatch this one.
So I'll be the odd one out for this one. So I'll have
I
to
watched
come.
Charlotte as it aired, and that was an experience.
Wow.
Go ahead.
It's a 12 episoder, like around that. It's not
I believe so.
Okay, cool.
I think.
All right. So as our light stick goodbyes, Jennii, do you have anything you want to promote or anything you want to say? Where could people find you? Any of that jazz?
So I am working on a couple of projects that
Okay.
are, I guess you can call them anime adjacent.
Mhm.
But the one that's I'm actually starting to look for a collab from is an anime.
Ooh.
So, or rather, I guess it's gonna start as a manga. That'll be
Mhm.
easiest for storytelling, but I feel like it's gonna do better as an anime. So we'll see. Maybe a studio wants to pick it up or something.
I love that.
And turn it straight into an anime. because it is very visual heavy.
Yeah.
It has to do with tattoos.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and maybe after we wrap up, I'll tell you guys more about it later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
Please. All right. What about you, Rob?
The usual stuff. You can find me on Twitter at Zenosuke, ZNOSUKE, where I just retweet Final Fantasy 16 artwork because I love that game.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow us on the JSB Gamescast. That goes up hopefully every other Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
depending on whether or not I remember to hit the button.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be actually so. I was supposed to record last weekend. We didn't end up doing it.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna be recording tonight.
Fun.
Yeah. So it'll be out this Wednesday.
Okay, fantastic.
And that's about it. Yeah.
All right. And then you can find me on Twitter, Pinoy Grigio. You can also find me on the YouTube for JSB. And you can find me here where I stream games occasionally and for the cast. I'm actually streaming tonight. So catch me tonight playing 999 with Pixel Hearts. We're finally back at it again. Should be fun. We took like a little bit of a break, and then we're gonna stream tonight, and then we're gonna take another break. But it should be fun. Like, you know, it's been a hot minute since I streamed with Stoof, and 999 is a banger game. So watch me try not to die as I solve puzzles and do math. All right, take care, y'all. We'll see y'all next episode for a little bit of Charlotte action. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.